From the streets of Belle Isle, welcome to round 4 of the VCO IndyCar Challenge powered by Open Wheels. And from this tight and twisty street circuit, it's time to see what chaos will unleash as qualifying gets ready to get underway. Hi folks, Arjuna Kankipati here, delighted to have your company on VCO Esports and on RaceSpotTV. I'm joined alongside for the first time this season by Lewis McLeod. And Lewis, it's been quite a while since we've had you join us for some virtual IndyCar racing, but we know just how much you love this open wheel thriller. What are you expecting from the streets of the Motor City as we get set for round 4?
Is carnage a word? Can I chuck that one in there? Look, I love myself a little bit of Belle Isle. It is a tricky one. It is a game for survival over the 70 laps. I mean, it's going to be a brutal race. That's what we know. Keep your car out of the wall. That's the game plan.
Keep your car at the wall, but first you've got to make the field. Let's not forget qualifying moments away from getting underway. The field of 42 drivers split up into 3 distinct groups, 14 drivers apiece. Still a very busy track for the 7 minutes that they get to try and set their qualifying time, and the fastest 11 drivers per group make the race. And that's important because, Lewis, 3 rounds left to go. There are some drivers thinking championship stakes as we wind our way. 2 races left after this.
Yeah, with it not being a long season, you know, you've kind of got to make the most of the single race that you get. You know, you don't have long in this championship to mount a challenge, and that's why, you know, Phil Krause is so high up there, because he's had top 5s in all 3 of the races thus far. You're absolutely right, though. The main focus is just to get through into the race itself, which around here, this is a circuit which seriously can bite in that. You know, you have a couple of incidents in qualifying, and it could be game over.
And I think attrition in the race itself will play its part. Strategy could be very important with the threat of safety cars, let's not forget, ever present and probably somewhat of a reality. Let's quickly talk championship points, because I think, Lewis, it's been a party of two at the front in terms of consistency. Kraus and Costantini split by just the 7 between them, and then 3 drivers tied for 3rd position with Pablo Espes, David Toth and Michael Johnny, 69 points apiece, only 5 points clear of the teammates Van der Sant and Chin. Let's be honest, there's a fight for 1st and there's a fight for 3rd starting to build.
Yeah, it does seem as though we've got our top 2 running away from things. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's not, that things aren't going to be open for the second half of the season. But realistically speaking, it does seem as though it's going to be between Kraus and Costantini at the top of the table. Then again, a couple of mistakes. A circuit like this, again, you can throw that entire championship up into the air.
Especially when you look at these groups, because I sent this over to you last night, Lewis, and I did say I think these groups somewhat unbalanced. Now, they're split up by the championship standings, but it does not mean each group is made equal. I get the distinct feeling if you drew Group 1, you're feeling quite lucky as compared to those Group 2 and 3s.
Yeah, maybe, but again, you've kind of just got to focus not only on like the group around you, but just focus on your lap, right? It's so easy to be like, oh, well, I'm in this really tricky group and getting into the top 11 here and getting through into the race is going to be so tricky because this, that, and the other. That's making excuses. You've just got to get out there and do your own lap. That's kind of the most important thing here, especially on a street circuit.
Yep, exactly. And I guess the 7 minutes also means that it's pretty equal split in terms of do one lap, one run, come into pit lane, do another. Remember, you can't tow in the pit lane either. You've got to drive yourself back in. There's a look at some drivers, some relax, some not so relaxed as they get ready to go for qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, how relaxed would you be before qualifying around the streets of Belle Isle? I mean, sometimes there are circuits which they get your heart racing before you've even set foot basically behind the wheel and started the qualifying session, because you know how difficult it's going to be, you know how treacherous it's going to be. I can tell you I probably wouldn't be calm. Also, I can tell you that unless, I don't know what the temperature's like over there, but if it's like it is here in Europe, I ain't wearing a VR headset. No way.
Oh, that's a good point as well. Some may need a fan to get some airflow rolling through them as we see the cars off and away from pit exits. Remember, 14 drivers to head out in Group 1, 11 to move their way on forward. And in this group, you got the likes of Kraus, the points leader, Berryman as well. Someone I think that will be looking for a good points performance. I'll just give a shout out, though, as well to Julian Ortena, who, Lewis, got the call up on 24 hours notice last week and ended up putting in a very decent effort, all things considered. He's also, again, got the call up for this round's race on 24 hours notice. Let's see what he can do in this Group 1.
Well, let's be honest, the whole idea of jumping into a race on such short notice is tricky at the best times, but again, a field like this, circuit like this, never easy. I think the most important bit, though, that I'd say for the drivers, is we can see even under the circuit here at Belle Isle, and see how crazy it is under there, is make sure you get some clean air. Right? Because I think there's this whole thing of even some people might think that even a little bit of slipstream might help, even though it really doesn't. Like, no one on this grid's thinking that. Just getting clean air. Just getting your own bit of the track where you can lap yourself.
And so that's probably why Phil Kraus already makes his way across the line to get the first time lap underway, and he's got all of that clean air up front. Peter Berryman sits behind as they head out of Turn 2. Now, it was quite funny in the driver's briefing. Race Control did allude to Turn 2 and said, don't do what that pace car did a couple of years ago.
Was it around here that he crashed?
Yeah. Oh,
of course it was. Yeah, it was coming out of Turn 2. Of course it was. Sorry, all I can think of when I think of pace cars and crashing, even though it wasn't even the pace car in a race, it's just Romain Grosjean biffing it at Laguna Seca.
Yeah.
That's all I can think of.
No, that
all
is
it running out of
point.
fuel at St. Pete. Either one.
There have been some good memories with safety cars in IndyCar, haven't there? There's a look at the weather. It's quite warm in terms of track temperature. David Toth has come back in. And one thing to note, Lewis, is it's not the red sidewall tires. It's the green Waiulis here on the street circuits.
Yeah, which I... can I be controversial? I really don't like them.
You don't like that they're green? What's your problem with the colour green?
I don't like that they're green. Yeah, no, you know me. I love the colour green. It's just, I don't know. Every time I see that, such an F1 thing is that I always think intermediate.
Fair. Oh, okay. I see where you're going with that now. Berryman crosses the line. Kraus comes into pit lane. So very interesting that he didn't feel that first lap was going to be good enough. A 1:13.2, the benchmark from Berryman.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, the tyre drop off around here, it's going to be. I think it's fairly brutal, but for the first couple you'll be absolutely fine. So that's why you'll see them go for a couple of laps, or some will bail in and come straight in rather than going for a couple of laps, rather just to get on some new tyres and go for the second part of the session. Either way, Pete Berryman at the top from Josh Chin. It looks like a pretty solid lap time to kind of bank one of those in early.
Let's ride on board with David Toth and get his perspective. Remember, he's come out of pit lane, got those tyres up to temperature, and he heads off through the opening sector as we sit with the Hungarian in the Drago Racing number 8.
Only so through turn 1, flick it through turn 2, up and over the crest. Oh, so committed and out to the wall before you prepare for this double right-hand 90-degree down at this point of the circuit. It's around the fountain. I feel that this part of the lap's not too bad when it comes to its difficulty, but the awkwardness increases more so there. It's not just the difficulty, it just becomes such an awkward circuit. This one, the wall sticks out on the right hand side, you can catch that one. This one, hopefully you don't go full throttle into barrier, and obviously down towards the fountain.
And this is where I think we'll see push to pass being activated, potentially some moves being made. But it's into this final sector that I really find the track almost gets more difficult because your tyres have heated up. How much commitment do you have as you start to slide your way closer and closer to the walls? Jose Soria shows the Drago Racing car is quick. He's just done a 1:12.464. That's almost a quarter a second quicker than Peter Berryman, who's back on pit lane for a fresh set of the tyres. Out of that hairpin, got to be very careful with the rear end bouncing around as he try and step onto the loud pedal and then through this double right-hander back towards the start-finish line. This is where the race will get underway. Got to be very careful through these tight confines, but no such qualms as you've got plenty of clean air. And here comes Toth to the line. It's a 1:12.6. It puts him up to second.
Yeah, it's decent. I felt like he was a little wide going through 12, which, to be fair, around that sort of, particularly turn 12, even turn 11 a little bit, I'd rather be a little bit wider than a little bit too tight. Because if you hit those curbs, one of the main things around here, the curbs are not your friend. They are big, they are steep, they will spin the car. This probably my least favourite corner on the entire circuit. You head out of T11 after the fountain section. It's so awkward. I don't know how you ever found it, but that's where I probably have by far my most crashes around Belle Isle.
Luis Nunez, by the way, yet to set a time as he brings the Wave Italy machine back into pit lane. So has Phil Kraus yet to set a time. So only 11 drivers on the board. As it stands right now, Nunez and Kraus would be eliminated just on default. So Kraus has really got the pressure on here with time winding down. Only, I think, 3 minutes left to go. He's got to get that private label team up with Power Slide car onto the board.
Yes, indeed. Like you say, it's a circuit which can bite. We've said it before, time and time again. You've got to get this lap onto the board, and it'll be the same basically for everyone. So Phil Kraus will come through the final section of the racetrack. Of course, yet to set a time, and it is the championship leader. What's it going to be across the line? 12.9.
And, well, it's not pole, but it's good enough to put him inside of your top 10, you'd think, if things stay as they are. Field leaves pit lane. That's one of the Wave Italy cars. So that's Luis Nunez that's just peeled off onto the left. He's going to have to hustle to get back around. So Altena currently the first driver looking out as Brandon Roseberg, excuse me. Jesper Ullman, another of the gold machines, take to the grass to try and avoid the oncoming cars.
Certainly so. I mean, this is getting a bit like messy towards the end of the first group lapping round here. They've not got long to continue lapping, but you can see lap traffic it is causing a problem riding on board with Oscar Mangan here. And as much as that car probably wouldn't realistically have cost you too much, a little bit of dirt, yeah, but not too bad. It's the distraction around here you can ill afford around such a focused, requiring circuit.
Wilson Neto, by the way, I think in this first group, not going to get a time in at all. And so only 13 drivers to be considered. Still waiting, of course, for Luis Nunez to put himself onto the board. Here comes Josh Chin with less than 60 seconds to go. He will get another chance if he wants to go around. And that 1:14.1 was a setup lap. So here we go. Fast lap's about to count. David Toth has just come down onto pit lane, though. He'll start no higher than second in group.
Certainly so. Well, here we go then into the deep start. I mean, look, again, at this point, I feel that if you haven't put in a solid bank lap by this point, I mean, I wouldn't say your session's completely over, but your back's really against the wall, right? Because if you've not got that bank lap to kind of fall back on, you're struggling here. Pete Berryman's got an okay bank lap, so maybe he can kind of throw it right up against the barrier and chuck it round. It's maybe a little bit too deep, though.
It's a driver who started on pole already this season. Can he do it again? That Apex machine, though, as it bounces its way in through this final sector, it's looking calm. Is it looking quick? That's kind of the question. Remember, we had Elias Sepinen join us as an invited driver last week, but Berryman, the only representative of the Corby crew this time around. That was some oversteer through the final corner. That surely cost him some momentum. And so look at the track map at the bottom right. Not many cars left to come. Berryman improves. It's only going to get him in front of Sam Coitet, though, with a handful of cars roaring to the line.
But the thing is, it just puts him towards the top. Josh Chin across the line, only to 4th spot. Oscar Magany, we saw having a couple of problems with lap traffic just a bit earlier on. Obviously heads into the pit lane, a second off. When you're that far down the order of the street circuit, your chance of doing something special. To be fair, you can work your way up, with the odd bits of drama, fair enough. But realistically, you've got to be starting somewhere towards the front.
That's a good point, I think. You can't rely on strategy to bail you out. There's a look at pit lane. Already a handful of cars sitting and waiting, but we've already had our first handful of eliminations here. And, well, there's some maybe unexpected names in some cases. Let's take a look at the results from Group 1 with Drago Racing sitting on top. Soria and Toth, they've shown up with a rocket ship to the streets of the Motor City. It'll be Coitet and Berryman, Redline and Apex 3rd and 4th in Group, with the private label team hype with Power Slide Machines 5th and 6th respectively. Independent drivers Blaze Andrich and then Oscar Mangan line up in front of Brandon Roseborough and Jesper Orman to round out the top 10, with Matt Taylor sneaking in as the final car from the group. So we say goodbye to Julian Altena, to Wilson Nadeau, and maybe most surprisingly to Luis Nunez from that Wave Italy racing machine. And now we get ready to go for group number 2.
Yes, indeed. It comes thick and fast here. Does the qualifying? No one's breathing for too. Obviously, they've watched the qualifying session. I wonder if that's an advantage. You go out in the 2nd or 3rd group. You've already kind of got that rough idea as to how the sessions are going to unfold and what the benchmark is. Because as much as you'll already kind of know coming into it, the benchmark is like this. It's an ever-shifting kind of bit. It's not the same as what it would be in practice when you've done laps time and time again. Obviously, you can see the conditions. They'll be different to what they've practiced into a certain degree. But more so, just how the session unfolds will be different, as everyone's vying for track position straight away. My goodness.
And I think this session's already, a degree Celsius cooler than Group 1. So maybe expect these drivers to have a pretty good chance of being in contention for pole. Remember, whichever group has the fastest individual time will see their respective group pole sitter lead us to the green for what should be a 70-lap race. It's not that long in terms of lap count. That was one thing that I was reminded by looking at the schedule, Lewis. 70 laps today at Belle Isle. We've got 50 laps at Road America next week, the longest track of the season.
Yeah, which I will be back for, don't worry. Well, as long as you don't fire me. Let's see what I can say on this broadcast. Let's see what I can say. I love going racing at Elkhart Lake. They're two complete polar opposites, by the way. But then again, I think that's one of the best things about racing in an IndyCar style championship, where you've got these cars. Obviously, you go and race at like Indy Road. You go and race at Iowa. Obviously, we've got circuits like this, circuits like Road America. So it is absolutely crazy up and down.
And, we come from Iowa, where I'm still quite amazed that we only had the 2 cautions. Pinch me. Am I still awake? Apparently. But yeah, 2 cautions there. I'm expecting a few more today, and I think some of the drivers, just based on the pre-race conversations, were expecting that as well. Now, it's a busy time for these sim races. That's Christian Hilgard trying to get out of the way of Diogo Pinto as we get ready for these first laps to get underway. Let's not forget, Lewis, some of these drivers, pulling the double duty in this car as well. On Thursday, they were racing in the 3rd round of the IndyCar Butt Kicker iRacing qualifying series. Got to remember the name and get that one out correctly. Yeah. Barber to Belle Isle. They may start with a B. That's about all they share in common.
Yeah, there's some bumps. That's about it. Yeah, I think they're circuits. They start and end. But no, look, it's different. I've always found, again, we always say it's about street circuit specialists, right? And that is 100% a thing. Anyone who says, well, there's no real thing as a street circuit specialist. You know, it's just another style of circuit that you would race it normally. It's completely different. How you would approach a street circuit is way different. Some people like having something to aim for. You know, those walls where you've got like that clear margin to throw the car towards that, to run out towards the wall, not quite grind the barrier, but almost like get that close. Whereas on a standard circuit, even like Barber, as much as there's grass, it's not the same aiming for that.
No, that is true. I will say Gustavo Ariel scared me a little bit on Thursday when he made a pass on the entry into the roller coaster around the outside. Hoping he doesn't do that today and scare me with expected chaos maybe to arise from there. Adam Blocker, by the way, we're talking about VR and whatnot, riding in the virtual reality goggles, joins us as one of our 2 invited drivers today. Very excited to see how he does. Race engineer in the number 78 for Juncos Hollinger Racing, up to 2nd provisionally in the group. But Diogo Pinto, 1:12.411. Lewis, he's already gone faster than the pole time from Group 1.
Yeah, that's actually very, very impressive there at the moment from Diogo Pinto. I've got to say, though, with Adam Blocker, was he always looking slightly right?
He was, wasn't he?
Like, he's driving in a straight line and is looking right. Has he got that set up correctly? Is that normal for him? Like, that can't be good for the neck.
I think that's the first time that I've actually seen him in that particular configuration. So we'll maybe get a chance to ask him. Remember, top 11 to advance. Only Christian Hilgard yet to set a time in this group. Now, a lot of these will be banker and benchmark laps for people to improve on in the second runs. But Adam Crane, Brian Carey, and Christian Hilgard, those are the 3 drivers right now on the outside looking in.
Yeah, like you say, though, the session at the moment, at least for our top runner, as you can see, Diogo Pinto slightly faster. Jose Soria set the 12.464, so it's a 12.411 in this session. Obviously, we'll see him jump back into the pit lane, prepare for the extra set of tyres, and we'll send it straight back out there. But, I'm not super surprised about Diogo Pinto going fast and Jose Soria, because it's by a small margin, and these quality drivers, fair enough. It's the gap back from Diogo Pinto, half a second back to Adam Blocker and, of course, Michele Costantini.
I think Costantini's maybe the bigger surprise for me.
Yeah.
In some ways, I hope Adam Blocker doesn't take too much offense to me saying this. I'm surprised to see him all the way up there in second, given that, he's been so busy. The IndyCar series is in a, quote, break right now, right, where there's 3 weeks for the Olympics to be on TV. But he was testing, I think it was at Gateway on Thursday, with Connor Daly jumping into the Juncos Hollinger machine. So, travel still being busy for some of those drivers. He hasn't had much practice. I think that's going to be interesting, how he interrupts the battle up front. See what happens with these Coanda drivers as well. Michael Johnny's down in 10th, Costantini still in 3rd, but here he comes onto the back straight.
It's a hard life, isn't it? Oh, going out and, sorting out some testing and stuff. And, he's a busy boy, is Adam Blocker. And then coming back home and then doing some sim racing. Oh, tough life. Tough life.
I mean, you've been enjoying a busy year of travel, haven't you?
Certainly. Well, to be fair, depends how you define travel. If you define travel between here and London constantly, then yeah, sure, having a great time. But no, I don't travel around that much. I've only been international a couple of times this year.
Hey, you got to go to Spa.
I actually didn't get to go.
You didn't get to go?
No, I commentated on Spa, but I didn't get to go.
Michael Johnny up to second. Can Costantini make his way back up? But they're still a good half a second off. Up to second, yes, but 0.4 off of Diogo Pinto. That time is a flyer.
That's a huge margin still from Costantini to Pinto. And like you say, time's ticking down in the session. Hildegaard goes into 5th position. But yeah, for Costantini, I mean, for a driver who's sitting up there, who's that? Who's just hit the barrier? Is that Pinto? Who's just I think that's fine. Just teasing us.
It's reattached itself, the front wing.
It's teasing us. I remember I was doing that. Whoa.
That was Josh Bosch Thompson, by the way.
Okay, it wasn't even Pinto. Was it? I think it was the VCO Esports Racing World Cup it might be ERL. Obviously, when it went racing at Bathurst in the Formula 3s. Mm-hmm. That must have been it must have been ERL. I just remember things like people hitting the barrier, a wheel falling off, and then just popping back on. that kept us entertained all evening.
That is true. Right, checkered flag out for Group 2, and so fast laps will count. Here comes Johnny out of the final corner, still looking for a good half a second to claw his way up to Diogo Pinto. Finds himself about a 10.5. It's not going to be good enough to challenge, though, the pole time. And as Costantini bails, Blocker stays out to complete the final flyer. It's only a 13.1, no improvement for him.
Yeah, I mean, look, Costantini into the pit. Now, you got to say, this is what could probably only be described as a fairly disappointing session, really, for Costantini. At least realistically speaking, pace-wise, to be second spot, fair enough, but to be back by such a margin, leaving the door open to be moved further back. But obviously, it's quite close down towards the cut-off.
I think that was Marcos Nunez who improved up to 6th position. Don't think he jumped out of the cut zone. But we have another batch of eliminations. Group 2 in the books. And Diogo Pinto, well, as long as Group 3 doesn't go faster, he'll be looking to lead us to the green. Costantini and Gianni do make it Kawanda 2nd and 3rd before Adam Blocker's down there in 4th in the Powerslide Motorsports 74. Hilgard for Satellite Racing, another impressive effort for him here on the road courses in 5th with Nunez, Burrell and Thompson within a second of the pole time. Pascal Stix and Sam Carasala the rest of the top 10. Adam Crane barely makes it into the field. He'll be looking to try and work some strategy from towards the back. Blake Reynolds, Adam State and Brian Carey, unfortunately, are done for the day. And fast, frenetic qualifying action. There's only 7 minutes left to go. Here comes Group 3 for us to enjoy.
Yep, straight back out to decide the final runners and racers here at Belle Isle. As, like I say, you've already seen the benchmark in a couple. You know a 12.4, right? You get a 12.4. You're looking towards the top end of the session. Who's got that in the bag? Has anyone in this grid, in this group, got a 12.4 to go after the times that have been set by Soria and Pinto, at least, you know, to kind of set themselves up for a good evening of racing?
You say good evening of racing. It's one of those races, though, where, let's be honest, you could also get your race ended before you even get out of the opening lap. Now, Long Beach of Belle Isle. We had Long Beach in the 2021 ISOWC season. We're here at Belle Isle for 2024's VCO IndyCar Challenge powered by Open Wheels. Lewis, which one do you prefer?
As a driver, it's probably Long Beach. It is probably Long Beach. I do actually really like the flow of. I do actually like the flow of Belle Isle, but no, I'm a Long Beach guy. I would rather St. Pete.
Okay.
I like myself St. Pete. It's missing. Sort it out, iRacing.
I mean, that would be a good one. Toronto as well is interesting.
Toronto's good. I like Toronto.
Yeah, tomorrow, I was going to say tomorrow, Monday night iRacing IndyCar action, which we have coverage of on RaceSpot. That's going to Chicago on Monday. I'm not looking forward to that one. No.
Not a fan. I would rather it than Nashville, though.
Oh, that's a valid point. Yes, I would.
Exactly.
Okay, let's focus on these drivers. Ignore the 15 minutes in the top left. Remember, it's 7 minutes per group. And while we get all of these drivers rolling around right now, quickly highlight the second invited driver that we have racing here today. It is the 2-time Porsche Esports Challenge USA champion, Randall Hayward, who's got a lot of experience, Lewis, on Gran Turismo. Not so much on iRacing. Let's see what he can do in that satellite racing number 61.
Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes you got to step in, you got to do your best, see what can happen. Maybe something special is on the horizon, don't know. I mean, let's be honest, Gran Turismo to iRacing, slightly different as far as I'm aware. Where's my invite? That's what I want to know.
You're not quick enough, mate.
That is. Like,
are you disputing
it? There is no question. There is no question. I am not quick enough. No, absolutely not. Not up for debate.
I'm glad that you didn't debate. We're getting the first times onto the board. Michael Romanidis has jumped up to the very top with a 1:12.795. So that's what, 3/10 off Pinto. So right now, Group 1, the second fastest. Group 2, the quickest. Group 3, trending to be the slowest.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, these are the first laps, and it did take them a little while to get into the fours for Soria and for Pinto. Of course, as we'll see, Gustavo Ariel there setting a 12.8. But then again, like I say, these sessions are going to be building. They're getting the banker laps in. This is what we were talking about earlier on the session. It's just about getting a decent lap time in the first run so that you can attack for the second run. That's where you're going to get your 12.4s. If you haven't set like a 12.8 or a 12.9, if you haven't already broken into the 12s in your first run, you're very unlikely to get into a mid-12 for the second run, the last run, however you're playing the session, just because you don't have that benchmark.
Exactly. Remember, 14 drivers in each group, 11 move forward to the race. Xavi Ross, one of the few drivers yet to put himself onto the board. Christian Steele included in that little group as the 04 crosses the line, a 1:13.423, up to 5th for his machine.
Bit of a brush of the barrier as well. Coming out of T2 as Eduardo Leo up to the top of the session. There is the 12.5. That's not bad.
And Pablo Espes in the Wave Italy machine also improves with him as well. So That's very competitive times, all within, what, 0.3 of your pole sitter. I mean, all things considered, we've got 20 cars covered by a second here at Belle Isle.
Which is what we want. I mean, look, ideally speaking, you would say that because it's such a short circuit and there isn't really that many corners, that realistically you would expect the pace split to be fairly close. Because of how many bumps and the awkwardness around here, you do typically see a pretty high differential on pace. So it's great to see that many drivers as close as they are. But does anyone in this group have something faster than a 12.411? That's the big question. Is a bit of a couple of scrapes of the barrier heading through the awkward tight section there.
And maybe no surprise to see that everyone is on the alternate compound tyre. No one taking a gamble and thinking the primaries are the preferred choice of tyre. Now that's something that will play true in the race itself, so keep that in mind. Eduardo Leo's just jinked his way down on towards the pit lane. Now that was a lot of oversteer from Seb Alexander in the 49. Clips the curb through the double left-hander, induced a little bit more rotation as well. I think it's fair to say this is a scruffy lap. I'm not sure if he's coming down to pit lane or staying out there, because he's not slowing down by any means.
Just because it's scruffy doesn't necessarily mean that it's slow. Seb Alexander coming up towards the line. I'm actually surprised the lap's still valid, to be perfectly honest. You know, a couple of scrapes of the barrier, you can get a 0x, and then the lap's over. Across the line, moves up to 9th position, goes way too deep at T1, but the lap was over by that point, so fair enough.
So all he really needed was to get the lap on the board. Christian Steele, oh, well, we had Luis Nunez and Wilson Nadeau in Group 1 not get a time down. Steele in danger of being in a similar situation as he makes his way around Randall Haywood. Traffic playing its part, but here comes the 2022 iRacing Indy 500 winner back around to see the start-finish line, and probably not going to have enough time to return to pit lane and get a fresh set of tyres. So this will really be it, you'd have to say. What's it going to be? 1:14.114, and he's just inside the cut line. We're talking 17 thousandths of a second, though.
Yeah, that's I can tell you that's not comfortable. So if there's anything left in these tyres on this lap, then we need to find it. But again, this is the difficulty of the circuit. Even big heavy hitters that are well known in the IndyCar scene here on iRacing can get taken out in a session like this. Even though you'd kind of think, 14 drivers, you've just got to stay out of the bottom 3. How hard can that be for some of the very best in this car on this platform? Well, still, evidently, very difficult.
Exactly. Chaos. That's what these qualifying sessions are all about, more than just going fast. Van der Sant crosses the line. Is that going to see any improvement for him? Yes, he goes up to 8th. Now, how comfortable does he feel? Eduardo Leo starts another flyer. No Redline livery on that car, of course, but don't forget, he is now part of the Team Redline juggernaut.
Yes, indeed. I saw him sneaking into an Apex Racing team livery earlier on. That was only because he was in the pit lane in the exact same spot as Pete Berryman. Left me very confused before we came into this qualifying session. But we'll see if they can improve slightly. Of course, 5.90 really aiming for the 4.11 that was already set a little bit earlier on by a certain Team Redline driver of Diogo Pinto. Jeff Drake, who we can see here, has jumped his way up along with Seb Alexander, pushing Christian Steele to 13th and into the pits.
And Randall Haywood did improve, and so he's in the field. I think Rob Malechka may have had an incident in qualifying because he's not out on track right now, and he's at the very tail end of this group. I think he's not going to make the field for this 4th round of the season.
No, which is a big shame because, again, Rob Malechka is certainly someone that we would expect to see. Maybe not right at the very, very front of that, so he's just got the speed, but at least somewhere in the field, somewhere in the mid-pack. Van der Sant across the line, sets a 2.58. That will be an improvement, so up to 7th he's going to go.
And so interesting that Eduardo Leo bails. There is the checkered flag out on track, so fast laps do count. Here comes Ryan Barneveld, one of the 2 zebras in this group, and seemingly with both of them going to make their way on forward. He had a technical issue that kept him out of one of the previous races. He's just jumped his teammate, Barneveld, to 5th.
Yeah, just up inside the top 5 in this session, of course. Cam Dance now into the pit lane. Has anyone below the cut line? Has Christian Steele in the pit lane, or has he got another lap time to give us to maybe sneak his way up the order? Looking at Gustavo Ariel now. You can see his teammate at the top, but he's going to bail it into the pit lane.
I think that's it. It's just Romanidis left on track, and he'll head down to pit lane as well. And so, What was the margin between 11th and 12th in this 3rd and final group? 1/1000th of a second. The difference between Jeff Drake and Seb Alexander. Let's take a look at the results. Remember, the third and final group in qualifying. They are also the slowest group. So Eduardo Leo is going to start third when we get underway for 70 laps of racing behind his teammate Diogo Pinto, with Pablo Espez, Michael Romanidis, Gustavo Ariel, and then Ryan Barnaval, rest of the top 5 in group. Almost half a second between those top 6. Relatively close group, all things considered, with Danny Lorenzo in front of Van der Sant, Roche, Randall Hayward, who joins us coming over from Gran Turismo, of course, and then Cam Dance, the rest of the top 10. And, well, it doesn't show as 1/1000th of a second on that graphic, but I can tell you on my timing screen, 1/1000th of a second between Drake and Alexander. Alexander Steele and Malechka miss out. But now, Lewis, we've got about 15 minutes for the drivers to go out there and grab a breath before they're gridded up and ready to go. 70 laps of racing action.
Yeah, it's your final bit of preparation before strapping in and sitting behind the wheel for what is going to be a pretty long and sweaty affair around Belle Isle. Again, it's all about survival. Get used to a heavier car, get used to doing longer runs, or maybe even just get away from the rig and go and get yourself a little bit of water.
Sounds like a plan, I think, for us here in the broadcast booth as well. Don't go anywhere on VCO Esports. Qualifying in the books. It just leaves the racing left to come. We'll be right back. Qualifying done. Racing left to come on VCO Esports.
The sky so far, but I can't lose it.
Qualifying in the books, 33 drivers now locked and loaded for 70 laps here on the streets of Belle Isle. Welcome back to VCO Esports and to RaceSpotTV for round 4 of the VCO IndyCar Challenge powered by Open Wheels. Arjuna Kekipati alongside of Lewis McLeod. Lewis, qualifying was frenetic, one driver missing out by 1/1000th of a second. But a very different challenge now awaits, thinking about strategy with the threat of safety cars on the horizon.
Look, it was pretty frantic, and like I say, I think it was pretty fierce and pretty heated in qualifying, as expected around Belle Isle. What it's left us is with 33 drivers, probably with very different opinions as to how qualifying went, and certainly different stress levels heading into what is going to be quite a long afternoon of racing.
Hey, you say long day of racing. I think it could be quick if we don't get the safety cars. When we get the safety cars, though, that's when things will start to get just that little bit longer, a little bit tetchier in the tooth, you think, as well. Here's a look at the weather conditions. Still relatively toasty on track, but I think one thing to expect as we work through the peak of the afternoon heat, Lewis, is that the temperatures will drop off, and knowing that the alternate compounds are preferred, if you're further back in the field, you're going to start on the primaries, get them off as soon as possible, and have alternates at the end with cooler conditions that maybe can be lasting that little bit longer.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, looking after the tyres today is probably going to be pretty high on the importance list. But again, it's more about looking after the car, looking after yourself, and keeping it out of the barrier. That is, it sounds so easy, it sounds so obvious, but especially in the first part of the race, that first run down to turn 3, even the first bit where it starts to narrow. It's so easy to get caught up in someone else's incident, as we're seeing a couple there from Ryan Barneveld.
Just waiting for all the drivers to jump into the race server itself, but there's the look from up above. Now, this track enshrined in virtual history. They no longer go racing there in the real world. I have my own opinions about the new street circuit downtown in Detroit, but I love the flow of this track, and I'm looking forward to seeing how drivers are going to figure out the strategy and work through all of that, especially knowing that, Lewis, it's a championship fight very much now, just down to 2 drivers.
Yeah, exactly. This is the whole thing with this fight, is that we don't have really much to talk about when it comes to the championship, except for Phil Kraus and Michele Costantini, who are the 2 drivers well in control of this. But as I said earlier on, a couple of mistakes in this race and it can blow the championship wide open. But Phil Kraus has had top 5s in the opening race. It's Costantini as well, actually.
Think so. That sounds correct.
That sounds about right. But there's not much between them. So yeah, look, they've not been separated by very much. That's the important bit. This is the kind of race, though, where they could be separated by an awful lot.
Yeah, and I think the question is all going to be, right, last round of the season is at Auto Club. We saw domination from Kraus at Iowa last time out, not expecting necessarily the same sort of a race at Auto Club where, pack racing may be a bit more to be expected given the nature of the racing we've seen there both in real and virtual years gone past. That's the look at the schedule, though, and we talked about it briefly in qualifying, Lewis, but by the lap counts, this is a relatively short race. 70 laps, shortest track of the season in terms of the road courses. Road America next time out in a week's time, let's not forget. 50 laps compared to the 70, but a much longer track itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to be fair, I wouldn't even be surprised if Road America is actually probably is more than twice the distance of Belle Isle, isn't it?
I think so.
It's certainly in that range. So it is a relatively short race here at Belle Isle, which is fine because it should mean that we should have more finishes than maybe what you would normally expect around here. But that's just, to be fair, that can almost increase the intensity because everyone knows this is a short race. This could be the shortest race of the season by a comfortable margin.
Fingers crossed that it is as well, because I've got a busy day on RaceSpotTV, not just this.
All right.
Got that Martinsville MX500 thing later on today as well.
Are you driving in it?
Oh,
as well as commentating on it and producing it?
Now, if I could get into top split, I would consider commentating and driving that at the same time.
Goodness me, I would not go anywhere near it. MX5, I mean, to be fair, I am so glad that is an event. but there is no way on planet Earth I would go anywhere near it.
I mean, let's be honest. We know what most of it is going to end up being like if I was going to drive and commentate on it at the same time,
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't think it would impact your driving that much, and I mean that in the sense of, well, you're not exactly.
What, mate? What?
You're not exactly 10K, are you?
No, I'm trying to figure out why my There we go. That's the button. It would just be a lot of this.
Nice. It would be. That... It wouldn't be... Oh, to be fair, no, I say it wouldn't be fun. It might not be fun for you. It would be hilarious. That said, we've got to focus on where we're at, and it's not Martinsville.
No, it's definitely not, although it's probably as treacherous as Martinsville, that is for sure. Still waiting for the final drivers just to jump in, so appreciate you bearing with us here on RaceSpotTV and VCO Esports as we get set for the 4th round of this championship. And I guess one thing to remember as well, 2 points have now gone the way of Diogo Pinto in that championship battle, so Costantini and Kraus, no difference between them heading into this round of the championship.
Yeah, but again, this has been, you know, we've completed the first half of the season. We've got that taster for what we've seen in the first half of the season. We're getting that preparation for the second half, which is where things can turn around both in a positive and a negative way. So, like you say, we've settled the battleground, and now it's time to turn things around. You've had 3 rounds without me, Arjuna. I want to see some absolute chaos. Unrivaled chaos.
Well, you just had to say that. Do you remember what happened in the first round of the ISOWC?
To be fair, actually, I can't. All I can remember with ISOWC is Auto Club and that final, that final bit of it.
I know one driver in particular that hopes that we wouldn't talk about it so much. He's not in the race, unfortunately, so he's probably in a YouTube chat somewhere, maybe watching on and chatting along. Do you not remember Watkins Glen and the chaos that we had?
No, genuinely, I can't.
Come on.
It's one of those ones I probably repressed it slightly. As soon as I see clips from it, I'll remember. That was like 3 years ago, man. I don't remember what I had for lunch today.
No, the reason I'm very disappointed is you must have also forgotten Christian Steele's amazing Drive to Survive edit of that race.
Oh, 100% completely.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Man, okay. We're going to have to... I wish I could show that on RaceSpotTV, but I might get in trouble for showing that for copyright. So I'm not sure if you can still find it on YouTube, but there will be a link somewhere that I'm going to go find, Lewis. I'm going to dig up for you to watch at the end of this race. Thanks. I do believe we have all 33 drivers who are now loading into the sim, so we are not far away from going racing. And again, appreciate your patience sticking with us. Again, just a reminder of our track conditions. We're going to see it cool off through the course of the afternoon, maybe evening if you're watching somewhere in Europe, and we appreciate you joining us from. And the question that I'll pose to you, the viewers, that I'm going to pose to Lewis now as well as we get ready to go take a look at the starting grid. How many cautions do we see today?
Oh,
it's a good question.
See, 2 was on the tip of my tongue, but I still think 3.
You think 3?
It feels low, but then no, I'm gonna go. I'm going 3, definitely 3. Yeah.
He'll make up his mind eventually. Remember, we're going to get plenty of time to take a look at the starting grid here. It's a short formation lap, not much time for them to build some temperature and heat into their tyres. And Diogo Pinto will look to try and make it 2 for 2 this week in IndyCar wins after winning in the IndyCar Butt Kicker iRacing qualifying series. Leads us to the green in the 4th round of the VCO IndyCar Challenge. He'll have Jose Soria alongside, who's being very strong so far this summer in that Drago Racing number 25. Eduardo Leo and then Michele Costantini, both previous race winners, line up alongside each other on row 2. It'll be David Toth and then Pablo Espes on row 3, and then going back to find Michael Jarning and Sam Coit, the first of the Coanda machines to support Costantini up front. Romanides and Blocker on the edge of the top 10, with Peter Berryman and then Gustavo Ariel rounding out the front 12. 13th for Christian Hilgard, and then Josh Chin rolls alongside 2 drivers that may look to try and pull some strategy off from towards the mid-pack. Ryan Barneveld and Marcos Nunez share row 8, with Phil Kraus, the points leader, having some work to do from all the way back in 17th position. Danny Lorenzo's company for him, with Kevin Burrell and Blaze Andrich bookending your top 20. It's Alex van der Sant and then Bosch Thompson 21st and 22nd, with Oscar Mangan and Javi Ross 23rd and 24th. Pascal Stix, Brandon Roseborough, and then Randall Hayward, Sam Karasala, Jesper Orman, and Cam Dance. Your top 30, and then let's not forget just some of those drivers squeaking their way into the field. Adam Crane, Matt Taylor, and Jeff Drake all qualified 11th in their group. Jeff Drake made it in by 1/1000th of a second. And 70 laps thrown in front of us, still waiting to figure out what compound of tyre these drivers are going to elect to start on, because I think that's going to decide how the opening of this race is going to go. Is anyone up front going to be bold, going to be brave, and choose to start on the primaries? Lewis, secretly, selfishly, I'm hoping so.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to turn a question on you, mister, because you always chuck them to me, not about who's winning. I don't care about any of that. 33 drivers, how many make it to the end of lap 1?
That is the question, though.
I would say unscathed, because that's just blanket it. Who actually gets the end of lap 1?
You see, I wasn't feeling so confident at Iowa, and then we had just 2 cautions. So, I want to be optimistic. In the briefing, they were all reminded about the rules on the race start. Let's say all 33 get to the end of... Well, the problem is we could have the caution at the very end of lap 1, so that doesn't count as them surviving lap 1, right?
That's true. That is true.
I'm struggling here.
Yeah.
That camera is struggling as well.
Love this camera angle. That is, honestly, it's one of my favourites I've ever seen in sim racing. Do you know what? I said that we're going to get 3 cautions, but I have faith that all 33 are getting to the end of lap 1.
I like that optimism. I'm going to roll with it. Okay, no, never mind. I've changed my mind.
Wow.
And that's because I've started to see what compound of tyre all these drivers are going to be on. Let's put that up on the left side of the screen for you all to be able to see. We've got Pablo Espez and Michael Johnny. Row 3 and row 4, pair of drivers inside of the top 10 alongside Adam Block are going to start on the primary compound of tyre.
That is interesting. Didn't Costantini win at Barber from starting on the primaries from second? So I wonder if the whole starting alternates. This I don't know. I quite like the idea of starting on the primes here.
You do?
I actually kind of do. Even though I don't know. I just like chaos, mate. I like the mix.
You're not feeling very optimistic right now.
No, I'm still optimistic. Everyone's getting to the end of this lap.
Now that one you're optimistic of. Oh, Jose Soria. He done such a good job last time out, Lewis, in getting his camera positioned on his face. Now we just get a very good look at the forehead of the driver starting on the outside of the front row. And Pinto looking great in what is, I've got to say, one of the best sim rooms in all of sim racing.
It's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. He done good. At least one of these. Obviously, as soon as they passed, was it pit entry? Basically, they're in the starting zone, so we're not very far away from beginning racing here at Belle Isle, and we'll see if they can survive. But I think once we pass lap 3, then we're good to go.
I think that's a good point. I think you just got to get into that rhythm, and so hoping that off and away we send Benny, the pace car driver, down into pit lane. It's fielding control of Diogo Pinto, and as the Portuguese driver weaves his tyres, he picks up the throttle, and we go racing from the streets of Belle Isle, and already there's a red line car trying to make it 3 wide just inside of the top 10. So that's Sam Coyton making some moves, but single file out for the top 4. Costantini and Johnny wheel to wheel as the compound strategies start to overlap, but now rumble your way into the braking zone of turn 2. Pablo Espez on the push to pass, trying to make some moves. He'll jink to the inside of Michael Johnny. Can he make that move stick? Answer is yes, but slows down the pack very slightly. And while they bunch themselves up, there's the expected chaos and a car in the air.
I shouldn't have had confidence. It's not just in the air, Arjuna, it's on its roof. Oh my goodness. What a dramatic start here. And yeah, that one's certainly not ideal. That car is going nowhere.
And so I think we're basically guaranteed a caution here at the end of the opening lap. We can't even see the first of the laps under green complete before the chaos builds. Now behind, because the caution hasn't flown just yet, it means they're still fighting, and Adam Blocker's under some pressure. Phil Kraus is now making some moves. You see that Danny Lorenzo's lost the front wing as finally the caution is out.
Yeah, that's a little bit messy, to be fair. Okay, I shouldn't have had confidence. Fair play. Caution comes out, rightfully so. Car on its roof. When it's on its lid, it's got to be brought back in. Let's find out how it got there. Obviously, it was Van der Sant. How did it get there?
Ooh, Oscar Mangan was on the inside as well.
Just drove into the barrier, I think.
That was Josh Chin, the one that really ends up on the lid. Hard to tell when you only see the underside of an Indy car.
I just so someone locks up and goes to the barrier. Was it Chin himself, or what else happened in all this? Obviously, you got all the drama on the inside. There was a little bit of contact there as Barnefeld was diving down the inside. To be fair, he just gets escorted out there, and then boop.
And that is some physics if I've ever seen them before.
I am a smart man. That is exactly how a car would act in that scenario. There's no doubt in my mind. Look, you saw it in Toronto. No, to be fair, we did actually see it in Toronto.
We
did. And the car did flip, so, you know, science.
Oh, well, we're not far away from reality. Alex Van der Sant was the teammate that drove into the back of Josh Chin. Yeah, that's definitely not how that was meant to work out, I think.
Again, it's fine. Look, thankfully in the world of sim racing, everyone's safe. Well, your thumbs might not be, depending on how hard the hit was, but from there, probably not. Just a frustrating start to the evening for quite a few, which To be fair, it's not super shocking.
And so if you're Matt Taylor, you ride through all of this and you just say, oop, there's one. There's two more in front of me. I've just got to find a way on through.
So, was Van der Sant's rear wing off as well?
Looks like it, didn't it?
Yeah, certainly so. I don't know quite how that popped off the rear, but it's a disaster start there. But it's what it is. Yeah, sometimes that's how it goes. Great start, though, for Redline, running first and second.
Yeah, well, yeah, good point. Jose Soria getting jumped by Eduardo Leo. We know there's no livery, but at least that makes it easy for us, Lewis. We know that Redline don't like to have differences on their liveries.
We have an opinion on this.
Oh, do we?
Well, yes, it's terrible.
Oh, we're on the same opinion. Same
Yeah,
opinion.
absolutely.
Okay. I thought you were implying we were going to argue about that.
No. I think the Redline livery looks absolutely fantastic. Apart from the fact that there is only one livery for them and it never changes. Which, again, it's great that it looks the same and consistent car to car. It is very frustrating when they have 3 or 4 or 9 cars in one race and they all look the same.
Yeah. By the way, it does seem as though through all of that, we're going to get back around, and I think pit entry is going to be open this time by. So might see some of those at the back who started on primary switch on over to the alternates, to the Waiulis. Let's find out. But only Josh Chin and Alex Van der Sant, the private label team hype with Powerslide and Powerslide Motorsports drivers respectively, needing to pit. Now, Michael Gianni, is he going to come down? No. I thought for a second Costantini was going to.
Yeah, I mean, that's that was not great. Obviously, Daniel Alves Lorenzo will probably be into the pit lane to repair the front wing, I would assume. There we go. Straight into pit lane. That one is expected. Anyone with damage on the car, you'd be really... Well, you'd be stupid not to.
You'd be brave.
No, I think with 68 laps
no, I
left
agree with
to
you,
go,
to be clear.
I think you'd be flat out stupid. How many died in that one? Was it just 3? 2 or 3?
It was 2. It was just Chin and...
It was 2.
So technically what counts and constitutes as dying?
Retiring from the race. Let's go with that.
Then I think just Chin and Van der Sant.
There you go. It's just the 2.
I shouldn't sound so happy when I say that. They're my teammates. I'm going to get in trouble for this.
I was going to say they are not going to be fans of you. I think someone else will be taking the vote for the VCO Simi Award at the end of the year. And it's definitely not me, so it's fine. But you ain't getting it. That's the important bit.
Yeah, definitely not for my teammates. Best believe that. Right. Fuel mileage. I think this is roughly like a 22, 23 lap window. So I don't really think in terms of that, this caution opens too much up. It's just in terms of the tire compound. And that's why I do think most of those that came in have switched on over. So in Lorenzo and Dance's case, that's onto the primaries. Everyone else that pitted, they're onto the Waiulis.
Yeah, which is, again, fair enough. It's interesting. I have been told that the primaries will last at a good speed for longer than a full tank, is the information that I received. Right or wrong, maybe leading me astray. I'm too much of an idiot, so probably leading me astray. It's fine. But that sounds about right. So yeah, realistically, it might be the preferred. But then, even in that scenario, as much as the alternate tyres do drop off more over that period, obviously you would expect the soft tyres, they should still theoretically be faster over a stint than a primary tyre, even though, yeah. But again, you just got to keep your nose clean.
Are you going to throw your source under the bus at the end of...
Absolutely not.
Sorry, I was just laughing because of that camera bug again.
I value my sources.
Okay.
Maybe I will throw them. Nah, that's fine. Nah, look, it's not on the... Nah.
I mean, if the information is wrong, is what I'm saying.
No, even then. No,
okay.
no. I've got too much respect.
Journalistic integrity.
I wouldn't go that far.
Right. Okay, ready to go back racing because the lights are off on the pace car. So, top 21 did not come down pit lane. So behind them are those drivers that pitted. Michael Gianni and Pablo Espez. Well, Gianni gained a position. Pablo Espez lost 2 positions. So inside of the top 10, primary compound tyres having a mixed start. Although Adam Blocker, 5 positions lost. That's a bit of a rough start for him. So pace car going to be off and away. And I'm going to repeat what I said. Benny, we don't want to see you again today. It's field in the hands of Diogo Pinto basically as soon as that pace car is off and away. And so he weaves up a little bit more, punches the throttle, and we're going racing once again for round 4 of the VCO IndyCar Challenge.
Certainly so. Solid start for Diogo Pinto back under the race. You said you don't want to see the safety car. I want to see it out twice for various reasons. Mine is fine. already a bit of side-by-side, despite it being single file. Was Adam Blocker going on the attack, 3 wide, coming down to T3.
And so Roche and Blocker are on the button. Oh, this is getting me a little bit uncomfortable. Berryman and Espes are swapping around slightly further in front, but it's here in the mid-pack where the real risk of the caution build. They get through that corner safely, and now for the first time, with full anger, we'll run our way onto the back straightaway. Lap 4 of 70.
Well, I mean, they still did get to this point before the caution was brought out. Romanidis going on the attack of Espes behind Pete Berryman, as we'll see maybe the attack as we head up towards the fountain section to the outside. Romanidis is going to go, backs out, goes for the up and under, but obviously it's not really going to work. It's far too narrow at this point, unless you're alongside going into it. You definitely can't send it as we get this really awkward section. Anyone's tyres who aren't back up to temperature will have a couple of struggles and scrambles of grip as they depart that fountain section in T11.
Corner numbers, a suggestion at many tracks. Danny Lorenzo, by the way, I think he had a technical issue and he's back on pit lane. That's consecutive weeks where BS Competition have had drivers getting involved in those weird technical situations. So one zebra watching on from the sideline. Still got Ryan Barneveld, though, sitting in 12th position. Romanidis back on the button, back on the offense, inside of the front 5. They're all sitting pretty for the most part. Scratch that. Berryman to the inside of Johnny with a look to try and get past the primary compound tyres, unable to make it happen.
That's a big look from Pete Berryman, of course, and a driver who he knows very well. Let's be honest. There is a lot of. Obviously, Johnny being previously at the Apex Racing team facility, and obviously being a part of the squad, and now keeping his eyes on Pete Berryman, who's closing in, is probably going to fire his way straight through down into turn 7. I will say, I'm looking at a track map here, and do you know what? I can actually disagree. I completely agree with all the numbers here.
Ooh.
I'm shocked.
That's a first.
Have you seen it?
No, I have. Well, you have to send me the specific one that you're looking at. That's the
RaceCircus.info.
Okay, the traditional one. Then that's probably correct, to be fair.
Well, it still has turn 2 down at Road America, but that's fine. We'll deal with that next week, shall we? No, honestly, it makes sense, mate. There's a couple of there's one where I'm like, yeah, maybe. That's fine.
Right. So at the end of lap 5, it is Pinto that leads by almost a full second. Jose Sori is putting the pressure onto Eduardo Leo, but it's really Johnny and Romanidis, or rather Johnny and Espes, I should say. Those two drivers, the cork in the bottle for some of those behind. 22 laps the fuel window under green, which I think would mean, Lewis, as much as 25 in this first stint, given the couple of laps of caution we did have.
Yeah, potentially. Obviously, the stint's going to be slightly longer, and if you're out front, you'll want to extend the stint for as far as it'll go. If you're somewhere in the mid-pack, though, that's where you may be not too desperate to see the stint go on for a really extended period of time. That's where you can come in and do something strategically, bring the race back into your own hands. As looking a little bit further down the order at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, there's some fun fighting through the field right now. That's the thing. Some drivers sitting patient and waiting, but in the case of Kevin Burrell, Cam Dance, a little bit of push-to-pass action there as well. And what is a four-way fight to not be last right now, because, of course, with Danny Lorenzo's technical issue, we now are up to 3 retirements. At the end of lap 6, it's still Pinto that leads. Berryman's been able to pull almost 1.7 seconds over Michael Johnny as well. A clear indication of the clear speed of the YU leads early in the run.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that battle for the rear looks exciting, looks thrilling, looks like something that you and I would most likely be a part of, because we're well used to racing at the rear. But of course, up at the front, things are calming down. 0.7 of a second, the gap between Pinto and Leo. Sori is keeping Leo for company, like very comfortably so. You kind of have to wonder, maybe overusing the tyres in doing so. He sat behind a car directly behind them under their rear wing. It's not good for the tyres at all. You do tend to burn them up quite quickly around here. Interesting that Sori didn't choose to use the button either.
No, but I'm guessing probably in a situation where he wants to save that maybe for the end, because remember, this is the system where it's all based on the number of usages you get. 10 usages of the push-to-pass over the course of the race. In the real-world NTT IndyCar series, pre-hybrid of course, push-to-pass was a seconds-based allotment that you could use freely, with the exception, unless you were in certain cars, on starts and restarts of the race. But that gap now to Johnny well and truly is opened up. Interesting that Romanidis is maybe just saving some fuel, saving some tyre and waiting. I was talking to my teammates at Powerslide yesterday, and what I was getting the sense, they didn't outright say it to me, but probably better to try, if you are on the primaries, to hold people up behind as much as you can.
Yeah, I will say a few drivers have come into the pit lane. So Hilgard's down the lane as well. So a few drivers picking now to come in. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that's not strategic.
No.
But it's not.
That's Brandon Roseborough, who's back for the first time since the opening round of the season, who's lost the left side of the front wing. So push to pass being used back up front as attrition count starts to rise. Hilgard stationary for 13 seconds, and he leaves pit lane down in 28th. He will be, though, lap traffic at some point sooner rather than later.
Yeah, obviously seeing those drivers come in to repair the front wing. Obviously these cars, they are so aero dependent, you need to come in. It's not like lower formula, like where you can get away with a little bit of damage to your front wing and kind of keep in the race. And this, if you get damage on your front wing, you lose a whole heap of time. Let's see what happened. Ooh. Just leaving the nose right down the inside, going into T7, and well, you paid the price.
And then you see the lack of downforce really costing, as you were kind of alluding to, Roseborough just having to give up some positions with the nose cone dangling as well. David Toss lost a little bit of ground. Well, Ryan Barnevel's now also down onto pit lane, so I'm wondering if his zebra entries come into some strife as well. But Sori is looking hungry, and I tell you what, Lewis, first round of the IndyCar Butt Kicker iRacing qualifying series, he finished up inside of the podium. He barely scraped into top split, and in the interview he gave post-race, he was saying, "Oh, I've never had a result this good. It gives me confidence." He's got confidence, he's good in this car, and he's been racing on and off in it since the ISOWC in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a car that requires a huge amount of confidence. It's not one that's perfectly glued to the racetrack, but it's not super loose to it either. There's that fine middle ground that this car sits so comfortably in, and if that is the case, it requires the confidence and the bravery to be able to push it to its limit, because if you don't, then that's where you're going to be up against it, as we see a penalty already. My goodness.
Well, race control, Ryan Barnevel was down for a drive-through rather than for anything else, so that's about a 19-second delta, it would seem. First thing that race control has deemed worthy of their punishment and wrath so far tonight. You can see the gap starting to build, though, and as this just continues to develop, Lewis, track temperature at the warmest that it will be expected to start dropping from here.
Yeah, it's come up a couple of degrees since the start of the race. I think it's about 42 at the start. Obviously, you can see it's 2:19 p.m. So obviously, realistically, it should cool down a little bit throughout the rest of the race. I'm not a weather girl, though. That's your job, isn't it?
I mean, I can put the costume on.
Oh, just don't flood me with memories as such. It's fine.
Do you want jokes from it as well? I can give you plenty of jokes as well.
Honestly, I made a couple of shorts from it, and we signed it off and moved on, as we'll drop back to Sam Coiter on the rear end of Costantini. His teammate, a little bit further down the order, Josh Thompson, did use the push to pass, but I don't think it was effective on making a move.
No, and Josh is on the primaries. He sat behind Marcos Nunez, who's on the Waiuli alternates, so we're at that point right now where dirty air plays its part. These are warm track temperatures as well. I think when it drops off towards the later stages of this race, potentially hoping and expecting the racing to get just that little bit closer and for them to all be chock-a-blocked up behind. Now, that was very close to the wall for Michael Gianni. As the primary compound tires, he's running clear of Pablo Espez.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's I'd say it's a pretty impressive opening stint at the moment, but you can see how much he's leaving on the table. Nothing from Michael Gianni. Obviously, we saw the position switch earlier on when Pete Berryman used push to pass to affect the move and get through into 7th spot. But right now, the highest placed of the primary runners, things are looking good for the Coanda man. But I mean, obviously, the gap's grown 4 seconds to the group ahead. The thing is by the time you come into the pit lane, get yourselves on those alternates, go on the attack, etc. The problem is the gap's already going to be quite large, and then you have to catch and pass. Obviously, might require a little bit of safety car intervention, a little bit of a full course caution.
We've already had one of them as well. There you can see, by the way, points as they run right now. You know how I said it was a 2-horse race at the start of this race? Well, David Toth, Eduardo Leo, even Michael Gianni, Pablo Espez, they're not far off Costantini and Kraus with how things are sitting right now. All it takes is for Auto Club one of those cars to get involved in something, and Lewis, I think that equation gets blown wide open.
Yeah, well, I mean, even here, I mean, look at the position at the moment that Phil Krause is in. It's not exactly a comfortable one in the race. Running in 12th position, as you can see, that is in the mid-pack. If a caution comes out now, then the restart, you're in the danger zone. I mean, Michael Costantini. Michael Costantini. It's fine. We're going to go.
Okay, to be fair, there's 2 Michaels for Coanda, so I see why you made that mistake.
At least I didn't. What were they calling him on the Indy 500?
Let's stop.
We'll move on. We'll move on. But yeah, I will say for Costantini running in 5th spot, that's not exactly comfortable either, especially with a red line driver directly behind. So I would say for those top 2 around here, things aren't comfortable.
Yeah, definitely not. I just seen Josh Chin jump into chat to say, well, at least he didn't lose any points to Alex van der Sant. They're both still tied on the 69 points that they entered the day with. I've just seen a note come through that we may end up seeing. There might be a connection issue here for one of the drivers, and I'm wondering what this is going to mean for Pablo Espes, who technical issues at Belle Isle, definitely not something you really want to be dealing with.
Yeah, and of course, as much as things might look all right from our perspective, it's more about like what the competitors are seeing and what race control are seeing as well. We always hear about blinking and such, and things like that being very distracting. Well, around here, I mean, it can be distracting enough that you can put yourself in the barrier, and so if there is any connection issues coming in from Pablo Espes, I mean, that's the thing with this. It is frustrating. That is one of the things in sim racing as a technical issue. It's almost in the same vein as a car spitting out some oil on the cars behind. It can be very distracting and not conducive to keeping in the race for too long. I don't know what the ruling is on that one though. I'd have to go and check the rule book.
I think they're going to see if they can wave Pablo Espes into pit lane, but at the same time, I think his connection is starting to stabilize. So hoping that gets resolved quickly and he doesn't get impacted too dearly in this race. Now, because we had the glut of drivers down on pit lane after the opening caution, there is a whole sort of a scramble building and brewing. Let's jump back over to them. Pascal Stix runs in 21st. Jesper Ormond's pulled out of the way as Burrell, Barneveld and a whole bunch of others make their way on through.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, it's not the ideal one for some, but I'm still very curious about what's going to happen with Pablo Espes here. But that's fine. Whether he's able to relinquish this issue or what have you. Either way, he's getting out of the way, so at least it's that.
There's a look at the car on pit lane. Now we'll see if Espes is going to be able to head back out and sooner rather than later stay on the lead lap and be brought back into contention in the closing stages. Meanwhile, David Toss losing the back of his teammate Jose Soria. Michele Costantini, who forever 4th on RaceSpot, will be known as Michael.
What other names have I ruined?
There's Manuel Sirica, sorry. I've just ruined that as well, trying to make a joke about it.
Yeah, that's true. I think that was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I've ruined quite a few people's names. Nuja Kinakakpaki. That wasn't me.
That wasn't you.
No,
that was great, though.
Oh, that was a bit of the barrier hit for Sam Coitet, though.
Now, the problem is, every time they get so close, I don't know if that's just, a little bit of connection or if that's actually a problem.
Nah, I think the broadcast director...
Should we go get a replay?
I think a replay and slow-mo. I would be shocked if there was not contact on his side. Like, I think it was a pretty significant hit.
Here we go. Broadcast director's giving you what you want.
Nah, that's going to be contact.
Should we try and get another angle?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Broadcast director can. For sure. He's a busy man, this broadcast director. He's juggling a lot of things. He's doing a terrible job as well. He's got a camera in the circuit as well. Nah, that's definitely contact.
That was, I think that camera tells the story a bit more. And so now, maybe side pod damage. Berriman's not close enough to take advantage just yet, though.
No, but the thing is, a bit of contact like that, it can do one of many things. Like you say, you can get a little bit of damage on the side of the car. It can slow you down just a touch. It can break the suspension. That car going quite slow there.
It is. Now it's Matt Taylor who's gone slow. This little battle pack, I think, is all just mixed up with drivers on different pace for where they are in the run, and so this is where it gets quite nervous. If there is a risk of a caution, I'd say it comes down from here.
Has Ryan Barneveld already served his
drive-through? Yes, he has.
Yeah, I thought he might have done. That's why he finds himself a little bit further down. He's got the pace though, as he's trying to jump up and go for the overtake. But I mean, look, they've already passed Taylor as if he was stood still. But I think it might have been Taylor getting out of the way a little bit, made a little bit of a mistake and realised that these are not the drivers to be fighting with.
Are those Yeezys in the back of the camera shot there? I'm not
as if I would know.
I don't know either. I just see the word Boost and I assume that's shoes of the Yeezy variety.
Isn't it a chocolate bar as well?
Is it?
Probably. I don't know.
I thought that was Husky chocolate. Kevin Burrell locks the right front, off to the grass. Oh, Barneveld sees the door open and slides his way up to 22nd.
Yeah, I'm actually not surprised that Barneveld went for that one. The look he had coming out of turn 7, it was even the look was, I'm going for a move at some point and you are getting out of my way. It was that kind of look. So obviously Barneveld's trying to make up for lost time. Feels like he's well out of position. Realistically, he is well out of position, and so he's just trying to fight to move his way back up the order bit by bit. But that was a pretty aggressive move.
It was, by the way, not far in front of that battle for 21st that Adam Crane now leads. They're closing onto the back of Randall Haywood, Sam Carasala. Already have seen Pascal Stix join the fun in that Course Sim Racing 47 entry. And we always talk, Lewis, you and I, we've commentated on our fair share of different simulators, right? We always say the best drivers are the ones that can jump across sims, across cars, and across tracks. I mean, take Enzo Benito of Team Redline as an example. I'm hoping that we get more of this crossover from the likes of Haywood and maybe a couple more, because I think of BS Competition. They also have a driver that is crossed over from Gran Turismo, Thomas Laboudelet, who won the iRacing Roar in the LMP3 category earlier this year. So we just need more of this.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've always said about when we talk of the sim racing community, generally speaking, we talk of like iRacing, R Factor, and what now, obviously ACC. We're talking about the sims of the sim racing world, and people do generally forget that about things like Forza or Gran Turismo or even like the F1 games. You kind of think because they're not in the same category. But if you're quick on them, you will probably be pretty quick over here, and that is certainly showing. Back up towards the front, though, as Waffler Clock will come to an end, because it's a big moment from Leo. Oh, my goodness.
Wow. Now, Racing Gods has smiled on Jose Soria. His front wing has snapped back into connection, but you can tell the pace is ratcheting up. They were trying to make a move, and Soria, very, very fortunate that did not end in more tears.
Yeah, that was very, very scary indeed. Leo going out wide. I think he might have brushed the barrier as well, could Eduardo Leo. But got to say, Soria's very, very lucky. Like, that wing was gone, and somehow it managed to magic its way back on. Let's see if Leo hit the barrier.
He did. I'm almost 100% sure he did.
He definitely got a whack on the rear end as well, so I wouldn't be surprised there was some diffuser damage as well.
I mean, he's braking in the middle of the track. He's carried too much speed. He's clattered onto the curb. That could have ended so much worse. Pinto now 1.5 seconds clear up front. Let's see what this is going to mean in terms of breaking up a bit of an advantage up front. Back over to the battle. Carasala on the button, tried to make a move on Haywood. Didn't manage to make it happen. And now guess what? Barneveld and Crane, they're not far behind as well.
Yeah, indeed. It's all closing up and building up towards the end of this first stint here. But Eduardo Leo didn't say Soria to Jose.
Come on.
No, it was, look. God, it's good to be back in the booth. Anyway, like you say, you got some close battles, like building up and building up and building up. We've got some disappointment building up in the booth as well. We are approaching this first pit stop, and if I'm in these groups, I'm genuinely thinking about when is the first opportunity that I can jump out of this group. It's not necessarily about going for the super undercut or trying this, that, and the other, even though that's kind of where you are leaning towards. It's more just about getting out of the group, as once again a big look coming in from Barneveld.
Yeah, and he's going to try and fight his way past Adam Crane. You look at that track map though, and I'm wondering, right, 22 laps is what we got told a green flag run would be. Again, extended out with the lap 1 caution to maybe lap 25. We're not far away from these drivers up front thinking about pit stops. And Lewis, the real danger is around 30 seconds or so is a transit time down pit lane. Guess what happens if you have a slightly slow pit stop?
Well, you're going to end up in a lot of traffic.
And that little battle pack with Randall Haywood and company.
Yeah, well, this is where, like, again, if you've got a lot of the time, you'll hear like some drivers will have a spotter or an engineer, or however you want to put it in this context. Their goal is not to tell you what necessarily to do on strategy, you know, for the most part. The most important bit of information that they can give you is what you're going to be coming out on. Well, because as much as you can go, oh, well, you're in pit lane for 35 seconds, and then when you take into account that it's a 60-kilometre-hour speed limit, blah, 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 and take all those numbers into account, you can kind of do that yourself. Removing that from you and having someone else do that number and tell you what you're coming out in and when you can actually go into the pit lane, that is the most important bit that a race engineer or a spotter or a crew chief or whatever you want to call it in this scenario, that is their most important role, is where is my clean air if I pit.
And so in the case of the Apex Racing team, you have Mark Tranter helping Peter Berryman. And again, a
great golfer.
Is he really?
No.
Oh, okay. Have you played golf with him, though?
No. But we were discussing scores and stuff. Me, him, and Carol. That's fine, yeah.
So just slander without even playing with him. Seeing the swing in action. I got it. But Byrne to push to pass did Berryman on the back straight without being able to make the move happen on Coitert once again. And I will say, I think Berryman is maybe faster than where he runs right now. He could potentially be as quick as your race leaders, but he's lost about 3/10 on them that last time by. Could he be one of the first drivers to blink? Again, the drivers that came down pit lane early during that first caution, they are the worry, though. Doesn't want to get tangled up with them. Strategy has not always been Berryman's friend when it came to timing of cautions earlier in the season as well.
No, indeed, yeah, I've seen that one bite. I mean, to be fair, sometimes to win a race like this, you kind of have to get a little bit lucky. That is just sometimes how it goes. Alas for Berryman, he's trying not to think about getting lucky in this one. He's trying to think of moving his way through of his own accord. Got a car directly ahead in Sam Coitert, and then 1.2 seconds up to the next one of Costantini. But where's the move? Where's the opportunity? At this point, it's really tricky because, again, grip's going. As much as the car's lightened up, so you've got more grip from that side, and you've got as much weight to be thrown around the circuit, your tyres aren't exactly sticking to the race surface quite as well.
And so probably a good thing to look at then is, still Pinto quicker than Michael Johnny, the first car who started, let's not forget, on the primary compound tyre. Everyone else in front of him is on the Waiulis. See what happens now. Brandon Roseborough has just had to serve a drive-through penalty. You can see the black and gold Hydro Race geodesic machine. Jesper Orman's there as well. This is where traffic starts to play its part. And again, pit stops moments away from getting underway.
Yeah, indeed. We are moving our way towards it. Like you say, it does seem as though very much you want to be on those alternate tyres, because the Waiulis, fine, whatever you want to call them, because it does seem as though even late in the stint, they are still running as fast, if not a little bit fast in the primaries. Here comes the move from Berryman.
He's going to try again. He's going to be forced to the outside. Sam Coitert knows that he can try and squeeze and pinch. Runs the Apex Racing Team machine out of road. I mean, that's hard fighting. That's fair fighting, though, and both survive. Losing time, though, now 1.2 behind Costantini.
Yeah, it was good from Berryman to kind of give that look to the outside. It was good defence from Sam Coitert. Like, the pair of them played that one very, very well indeed. But Berryman's a wise racer. He understands when, how, and why to take a risk, and that certainly wasn't the scenario. Dropping a car a lap down as well as they head their way back out towards the start-finish once more. It was just wise driving between the pair of them. They haven't lost too much time in doing so. They're fighting, but they're not taking too much risk. If that had happened in about 40 laps' time, I promise you, Berryman would have left it around the outside there, for better or worse.
Hoping it would be for better, for at least our entertainment, and the netcode gods would smile down on them. Gap up front, shrunk down momentarily to about 1.2 seconds as Diogo Pinto just continues to lead as he has done since the start of this race, but we're on to lap 23. We're in that fuel window. We know these drivers will owe us a pit stop in the next couple of laps. Again, remember, do you have clean air to be dropped into? Randall Haywood, Sam Carasala, Ryan Barneveld, Pascal Stix, and Adam Crane. That's a five-way fight I want no part of.
No, certainly. So, well, I mean, look, the part of it I want part of is viewing it, because I think we've got some excellent fighting happening around here. We've only had the one caution so far today, as Ryan Barneveld overdriving the corner maybe a little bit as he's once again trying to work his way up bit by bit. I mean, he's chucking that car around as hard as he can, isn't he?
Oh, he is really pushing. I guess the one thing to consider for him is he is on the primaries compared to everyone else around him, and so He might have a bit more grip at this point. Doesn't seem like it's really translating, though, to much in terms of speed.
Little bit of touching of the barrier, I think, there from Hayward. Might have just overdriven it a little bit again. Got all the traffic ahead of him. Oh, my goodness. That was a big send. I don't know how he hasn't hit the barrier and how they've all managed to work their way through all that, if I'm honest.
I mean, credit where credit's due. Barneveld saw the opportunity. Hayward gave him room. And then once the commitment was overcooked, there was a slide up the inside and the switcheroo, as Crofty would say. Pascal sticks down to pit lane as Barneveld makes the move down into turn one. I think he's seen enough. It's time for him to make his way down to the box.
I think it's a great strategy call there for Sticks to be like, I'm outie. Straight into the pit lane whilst they're all fighting, whilst they're all losing time. Get into the lane, get some fresh tyres on, get back out there and get back on the attack.
And they share pit stalls because there's not that many here at Belle Isle. So even though Sticks qualified down in 2050, rolls off and away from the front of pit lane. And look at that clean air. That's exactly what some of these drivers behind will be thinking about. Now, Diogo Pinto back out through turn one. That's some traffic up in front of him. We're on to that 25th lap. And that's some traffic with no left front part of the front wing. Jeff Drake going to be very much struggling. Michael Johnny's had enough. He's going to get rid of the primaries. And it should be Waiulis from here to the end.
Yeah, indeed. Again, good. I like it. Obviously, just trying to jump out of the way. Obviously, his teammate Romanidis in the pit lane as well. Pit lane's going to be pretty busy for the next couple of laps. I think you'll see a majority of the drivers jumping their way down onto pit lane. Probably, to be fair, I would have said at the end of this lap. To be fair, expecting at least a couple more entries down into pit lane this time or during this race. It would be one more after this, wouldn't it?
I think so.
If you can, yeah, it would be, depending on when the caution comes out, if you get one.
And look at how Michael Romanidis spat out into that fight. And I think that's Blaise Andrich or Xavi Ross, one of the two. Spin out of turn one on cold tyres. Perfect 360 no-scope, spin it back around and drive off like nothing happened.
Mum, get the camera. That was pretty impressive as Diogo Pinto works his way onto pit road, dragging his teammate down, and Jose Soria and David Toth, Costantini. Yep, there we go. It is busy.
So does anyone extend? Gustavo Ariel, he could be one to try and extend. He did that on Thursday at Barber in the IndyCar qualifying series race, and indeed he's going to go one lap longer here. Phil Krause has to try and do something different, let's not forget. Buried back in the mid-pack. He'll go long as well. Leo a lot closer to Pinto, though, on the race off and away from pit lane.
Yeah, obviously do remember that, sure, you might be able to go longer here, but you're not going to be able to shave off a pit stop. So it's not as if it's for that kind of strategy. It's more just about staying out of pit lane when it's super, super busy, which is going to cause its fair share of drama, as Jose Soria is about to find that one out because Costantini's going on the attack coming down into turn 3.
He had to change his front wing. It was a very slow pit stop for Soria, and so he goes from sitting inside of the podium positions to, well, now down behind Costantini, and a championship contender who's not going to sit down and let this one be fought without any sort of drama. And Soria lost the front end again.
It's not looking good for Soria this time. Again, it pops back on. I want whatever front wing they've got. There's a magnet on it, and it seems to just pull the bit straight back onto it. As once again he goes on the attack. Everyone with cold tyres here. Coitet keeping Pete Berryman at bay as he did over the previous stint.
Sam Carasala's had an incident. Not sure if that's going to see the caution come out. But we continue running with Gustavo Ariel and Phil Krause, and Adam Blocker going to come in at the end of lap 26 and having gone long. Carasala has seemingly been able to continue running. That car not entirely up to speed though, so just keep that in mind. He's also lost a little bit of carbon fiber. Pinto and Leo now 4 seconds clear of David Toth, who's on the hunt, and behind Costantini rides in fourth with the train building up behind.
Redline doing what Redline do. My goodness, they are flying at the moment. 3 seconds clear of David Toth. Looking at Costantini and backwards. Like I said, Jose Soria's lost position through the pit stop, but realistically speaking, is that the barrier for? I think it must have been the barrier for Sam Coitet. I've
got to say, they're flirting with disaster, and once again, Peter Berryman, the one that's really losing out as a result of this. How much patience are we going to see onto this back straightaway? Berryman's already burned through 5 of his push-to-passes. We're not even halfway through this race. He's got to conserve. He sits behind. 1.5 seconds for Coitet to close.
Yeah, I mean, you say about conserving though. The thing is that I always find when it's pushed on. I mean, I think this is more so when it comes to seconds, and it's with the amount. Obviously, only 10 and whatever. But when it was seconds, I'd always find there was these people being like, "Oh, I've got to conserve, I've got to do this, and I've got to do that," and they would save it all for the end of the race and then just never use it because they didn't really have the need. Javi Ross, there's the spin.
I gotta say, perfect
That's
360.
pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive. I didn't realise that we were in some sort of skill zone. Gymkhana.
I've been playing my fair share of Forza Horizon. That explains it.
Have you?
Yeah.
Which one?
Both 4 and 5.
Nice.
Yeah.
Four's goated, obviously.
Just because of where it is, right?
100%. He does love a bit of Scotland.
Who doesn't love a little bit of driving from Edinburgh to I don't even know if you get to London, but into England.
You definitely don't get to London.
That's definitely true. Cam Dancer's got to drive through penalty for a dive bomb. Race control one by one, taking their look through various incidents. And so we are left now with 33 starters whittled down to 27 runners. Kevin Burrell, Jeff Drake, Pablo Espez, Danny Lorenzo, Alexander Van der Sant, and Josh Chin, the retirees today, as wheel to wheel, Blaze Andrich loses out to Christian Hilgard.
That was a pretty impressive attempt to complete the move. It was a little bit sketchy, but that's fine. That's fine. So we are down quite a few drivers at the moment during the race, which I think that list is probably not done with being added to after not even reaching the halfway point of this one. But you've got to say, of the top runners, are any of them going to join the list? Because I'm going to say yes. I think someone in this top group, I don't know who it is, but with how these races unfold, someone within, let's call it the top 10 at the moment, someone in that group is not seeing the checkered flag. I don't know who it is, but surely.
Are you trying to cast the commentator's curse down here on somebody?
There's no such thing as the commentator's curse.
I know, and that's why it's so great to say it and wind you up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, wouldn't if that was the commentator's curse, I'd be sat there being like, "Oh, Diogo Pinto's having a great drive," and then he'd bin it, which would still be his fault, by the way. But that's fine. I'm not saying that Diogo Pinto is going to do that, or that he is having a great drive. It's too early to say.
I mean, but it would be a commentator's curse, right?
No.
Lewis is remembering why he hasn't worked for me for a while, just because I love to needle him.
No, to be fair, you're not as good at it as Cam Roger, who can
okay.
genuinely get me into like full rage on a broadcast by talking about it.
Okay, so I've got to learn from Cam, picking up what you are putting down for me here. Again, by the way, in this second stint of the race, tyre compounds, front 7, are all on the primary compound of tyre. Sam Coiter, after that little bit of a wall strike, has been able to bring the pace back. Not to say he's closed the gap, but Peter Barron's not losing time behind him right now.
Yeah, indeed. Like at this point, for a few drivers, it'll be about looking after the gap and making sure that it doesn't grow. Also, it doesn't grow too far. But what I say, I've seen Costantini do that quite a bit, running out wide at T3. Surely that's an instant point.
Yes.
Wide there. And what's the limitation?
There is no incident point limit.
Fair play. Carry on, boys.
Well, so here's what I'd say is, Lewis, do we need a limit for that when it's clearly the slower line?
No.
Exactly.
It's not the racetrack, is it?
No, I agree with that. But incident point penalties, at least personally, my opinion on them is, I agree there's certain off tracks that should be penalised. Take Watkins Glen Turn 1 as an example, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
I'm on board that incident point should also be a penalty. But that example of the incident point in the grass, that's not an advantage being picked up. So, yeah, no incident point limit.
You're very much in the camp of 3 off the tee's too harsh, aren't you?
Sorry, speak to me.
Complete tangent.
Yeah, speak to me like I'm 5 so the viewers know what you're actually talking about.
In golf, if you have a tee shot and it ends up, let's say, in the water, and then you decide to take another shot off of the tee, you get a penalty stroke and then have to take another one. So it would be one shot, then in the water, so that's a penalty, and so it would be your third shot from the tee. And a lot of people have been saying that that's too harsh. You're in that camp.
Oh, no, I'm absolutely saying that's fine. I've taken my fair share of three off the tees in my lifetime, so...
I think it's way too harsh.
I'm accustomed to it, Lewis. It's a passage of life for me. You know what I'm saying here?
No, I think a penalty drop is fine. But if you're taking a penalty, the penalty's already been taken by you taking a second shot.
So what you want is to hit it in the water and then just get a mulligan, really? It's
No,
not a true mulligan. I know what you're
not.
saying.
It's not.
I know what you're saying, but
You pump the brakes. Also, I would love a mulligan.
you would. Everyone would love like 18 mulligans around, please.
You've not played with Cal and Roger.
How many mulligans does he need?
More. Let's keep our eyes focused on the race.
Well, no, one more
off-topic.
off-topic conversation. Did you see that Simon Feigel's got his handicap down to a single digit?
Has he really?
It's down below a 2, Lewis.
Do you hear that? This is completely off-topic still. Peter Mackay went round the old course, hitting 76.
He hit a 76 at St Andrews.
Yeah.
Oh, when are we playing golf at St Andrews, Lewis?
Look, you came to this country and I avoided you like the plague.
True.
Whoa! Speaking of avoiding you like the plague, avoiding the front wing. How is this front wing still attached to this man's car?
I've got to tell you, that's a magician. That's not Jose Soria. That's a magician.
What is happening?
That's 3 times right today that we've seen.
I mean, look, Costantini overdrove the corner. That is.
There's no ifs or buts about that one.
Which again, for Soria, that's another time. Here we sat there thinking again, another person having a bad corner and then me paying the price for it, and somehow the bill keeps getting dodged.
It is quite remarkable as well, just to see that front wing snapping back into existence time and time again. It's crazy as well, right? 3 times we've seen the front wing snap back into existence, and he still had to have a front wing get changed.
Yeah, which, because again, just because it's getting snapped back into position does not mean there is no damage to the front wing, right? There can be a lot of stuff, and to be fair, there's a lot of technical stuff, whatever. There could still be some damage. Just on the side, you can lose a fair amount of grips, even just by damage on the nose. This one should be the move, though. Costantini going for the defensive line.
I think if you're Costantini, don't fight here, surely. No, he's going to fight. Oh, around the outside. That's brave from Soria, but he knew he's got the grip. He's got the car to make it work. And so red line 1 and 2, Drago 3 and 4. It's a battle up front. 10 seconds covering the top 5 right now.
Yeah, sorry, I had to work to make it back to being the Drago 3 and 4 in this, but the gap is huge. Coitette's on the button, though, could well be able to pass Costantini here, who looks like he's about to get freight trained.
It's interesting that Costantini didn't respond. He's got 8 push to passes left to defend with, but he's maybe now going into fuel mileage mode. Coitette's definitely driven into the wall. You heard the crunch. Johnny, Ariel, Kraus, they're closing behind, and Peter Berman's probably sitting there and going, what do I need to do to get some clean air now?
Yeah, indeed. This is not easy for Pete Berryman, who we know how fast he is in these cars. We know how fast he is in open wheelers and iRacing. Seen him win a whole host of championships, and that behind the rear end now of Costantini. Now got to go and look for the move. Costantini must have some form of problem. He must have diffuse damage. Got to have.
At this point, with his lap times falling off, I think you're right. Jose Soria's not falling off, though. So to what you were saying earlier, where maybe there is still some lasting front wing damage, Soria's got lucky. Costantini's A, on the primary compound of tyre, but B, going to drop even potentially behind Gustavo Ariel and Phil Kraus.
And this is not just big for this race. This is big for the championship as well. For Phil Kraus, this could be a huge moment for him to potentially, obviously hold on to the lead of the championship. Fair enough. But Cooper will be pulling out a hefty margin if Costantini's problems continue. And also, look at the train behind. They are all on ultimates.
And word from Josh Chin, who will be seeing, and you can see it as well, that left front wing, that's pushed in. So there is going to be a lack of grip, lots of understeer to deal with for Costantini. And the worst part, it's about 14 laps before this fuel window comes to an end. We're not even halfway through this race.
Yeah, there'll be some praying, some begging for a caution here for Michele Costantini, that he needs some form of help here. Will probably fight Phil Kraus maybe a little bit harder than he has done some of the others that have come up behind him, but I've got to say, I don't think it's going to last too long. You can see the struggle of grip heading through the real, what is really the final corner, heading down towards turn 1 again. There is Phil Kraus looking to the inside. How much risk does Kraus take in this move, though?
If he's been told that Costantini's got damage, surely not much. He waits to get onto the button. Oh, but I tell you what, Costantini's done the smartest thing that he can do. He covers the inside, but gives Kraus the move into the braking zone. Let's give Costantini some credit there. This is a championship fight. He doesn't want to make it any more controversial than it needs to be.
Yeah, indeed, but that's a huge shame for him. It's seeing some more damage a little bit further down. Like I say, not everyone's escaping without front wing damage. I said before, if you want to win this race or you want to get a decent result, it's all about keeping out of the barriers. And yeah, easier said than done, I think.
Oscar Mangan is up 11 positions from where he started this race, by the way. So even with the front wing damage that we're seeing, not necessarily slow on the wily tyres that he's got right now. Josh Thompson's behind him, also up 8 positions. Javi Ross did that 360 no-scope. He's still +9. It goes to show, stay out of trouble, even if you don't qualify well. Some decent points to be gained if you can pick your way through all the carnage. Mangan's definitely, though, holding this pack up, though.
Best 360 that we'll see that we've seen so far this season. I obviously wouldn't encourage any driver to try and beat it, but you know, if you do happen to have one, at least make it a good one. A little bit of a brush of the barrier there from Oscar Mangan, and again with the front wing damage on this car, I suspect there could be the move coming in from any of them behind. But to be fair, I think he's dealing with the front wing damage quite well here. To be fair.
He is doing
he hits the barrier
1:16.4, so that's what, almost 2 full seconds slower than Pinto up front, and on a slower compound of tyre. So I think that tells us a bit. Ooh, that's a look from Javi Ross to try and pass Bosch Thompson. Adam Blocker sits behind and doesn't really take advantage of the situation. And it is great to have Adam Blocker back in the virtual IndyCar. So much success in the virtual world in the last handful of years, but race engineer now with Juncos Hollinger Racing in that number 78 machine.
Best number.
Best number. Both Lewis and myself agree on that one, that's for sure. But, you know, mentioned the busy schedule for him. It's great to have him be able to join us for at least one race this season. We might even see him at Road America next week.
Yeah, I mean, look, some people are just busy, and that's why they miss the first half of the season and then jump in. Don't know what I'm talking about, but that's fine. It's obviously why I wasn't here. It wasn't that I was just avoiding you.
Okay, got it. Understood.
It was just that I was avoiding him. That's never going to get heard in the broadcast. It's fine. I was avoiding it. It's fine. But then, yeah, you had to deal with my son, so it's okay. Alas, Adam Blocker, he's not showing any rust on his driving as he continues to go on the attack.
I tell you what, we were commenting on it slightly earlier. Should we go back on board? He is definitely looking off to the right.
Yeah, why? How? What? That cannot be good for the neck.
That is not just the angle.
I understand when you turn. That's fine.
Let me go look. Do I?
Here we go. No, here we go. See, now he's looking straight, but he's going to a left-hander. That's crazy.
That is not just the angle, is it?
No.
I can tell you that the Powerslide Motorsports teammates, there's a lot of them in one single voice chat. Adam Blocker has himself completely cut off from the world in front, around him, as in front, that was Josh Thompson being passed by Javi Ross. Blocker, one of those drivers, Lewis, that likes to just get in with the rhythm. He doesn't need any help or any extra information. He just figures it out on the fly here on the road courses.
Is that what you were like behind the wheel?
Oh, no, I'm a chatty Cathy.
Are you?
Yeah, that's why I crash a lot.
Yes, I am not. I think everyone that's had a race with me, whether it is being teammates or whatever, I was the first one. As soon as we would go on the formation up, I was like, right, good luck. Boom, muted. I'm like, I don't care what you're thinking. Even if it's like a fun race, I'm like, no, absolutely not. I think I even might have muted when we did Jimmy's race.
No, we did. You definitely did.
Did I?
Yeah, I remember that.
Sounds about right.
Oscar Mangan gets passed by Javi Ross. Oh, Blocker throws the move. Oh, Josh Thompson can't block that one off, I think, and as much as the rear end slides out, he dips the wheel into the grass. Blocker up to 15. Thompson's lost 2 positions in the space of a couple of laps. Sam Carasala behind, by the way. Lapped car, not really fighting with these groups.
That was a lovely move. Just big, brave. I mean, got to say, Josh Thompson did whatever he could to try and hang on in that occasion, but it was just a little bit too much coming in from Adam Blocker there. But I've always said before, when it comes to dive bombs and stuff, if you're going to go for a big dive to the inside, which is normally kind of one of those moves where you're sort of like, oh, it's not that nice because this. Yeah, it's very risky, it's high risk and all that kind of stuff. As long as you make the apex and don't completely obliterate the corner, I'm fine with it.
I agree with you, right? And it's where we saw the move where, Randall Hayward did the switchback. As long as you're aware of everything around you, you can have good racing at pretty much every track, including one with as close confines as this. Oh, Kraus burns a push to pass. Thought about trying to jink to the inside of Gustavo Ariel, just not close enough.
why for a little while, what the 2016-2017 season in F1, I'd argue the best overtaker in F1 was Daniel Ricciardo. Because he'd send it from an absolute mile back and would still stop on the apex on an absolute dime. That is good overtaking in my book, and I would put Adam Blocker in, at least in that company, in this race, as Gustavo Ariel keeps his eye on Phil Krause. He might well try a similar sort of thing, although I will say Phil Krause is going to be pulling out that championship margin just a little bit over Costantini.
And that's going to be springing to his forefront of the mind, you'd imagine. Just keep it clean, stay out of trouble. Here comes Blocker on the bottom of the screen, by the way. Oscar Mangan still dealing with the impacts of the lack of grip from the front end, but he frustrates Blocker from the time being, and the gap up to Xavi Ross, who's already made his move, is 2.1 seconds. So this is a lot of time that both Blocker and Thompson behind are losing, being trapped behind the Irishman.
Yeah, indeed. Just say a couple of struggles, a couple of frustrations coming in from the group. Again, this is the whole thing where that frustration is going to build. This is why I was saying that Oscar Mangan I thought was driving quite well earlier, because he's got quite significant front wing damage, but was still keeping them at bay behind. Bit of a look coming in from Adam Blocker as they head down into T1. No move. Surely it's going to be on the button now, and surely there's going to be a look for a move.
Apparently no usage of the button. Blocker thinks that he'll get the move done around the outside without it, and I tell you what, that was a good call. Around the outside, Mangan's going to try and slip alongside as they run through the short chute. But now let's see how quickly Blocker can close to try and bring himself back up closer to Xavi Ross. Remember, Thompson going to be next to try and follow to avoid bleeding too much more time. Let's check back up to your race leaders, though, because Pinto and Leo, 14 laps about to be complete on this primary compound of tyre, and 1.2 between them, then 3 odd seconds back to David Toff.
Yeah, about between 8 and 10 laps away from diving back down onto pit road for the final time this evening. But again, we've not seen a safety car jump out. I keep saying this evening because obviously, UTC rules and all that kind of stuff. But I do. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon for you. It's fine.
It's 11 for me, actually.
11 for you?
11 in the morning. Yeah.
Oh, that would make sense because it's 7 p.m. I understand maths.
Someone's finally done their math correctly.
Oh my God. 8 take away from 19 is 1 apparently. All right, touche. Do you know what? I'm going to own that. That's fair play.
You know how we say never trust a commentator's math? Right
That's
there.
Terrible.
Case in point.
Oh my
30
goodness.
laps to go.
Wow.
I can tell you to trust me on that one. Josh Chin, by the way, Lewis, says, what do you mean we haven't seen a safety car? I think what you meant was haven't seen a safety car recently.
Since the start of the race. That's exactly. Oh my goodness me! I'm on full form here on my return to commentating with you.
It's okay. We had Joey
You're
Tevin,
dragging me down.
afflicted with COVID last week. Poor guy. Still dragged himself into the commentary booth and got through it just about.
Maybe the other one as well.
Yep, and I guess in your case, it's how quickly can we get out of here so I don't have to deal with you.
Well, yeah, but unfortunately in this I can't control that because obviously it's just dependent
Safety
on how long
cars.
the race is. So, realistically I'd want no safety cars between now and the end of the race, so I have to share the booth with you for as little as possible. Phil Krause going in the attack of Gustavo Ariel, both of them on the button.
And bouncing on the curb, sliding their way through. Krause not going to be able to make the move. I think we've got around 35 minutes if we go uninterrupted to the end from here. Can you imagine how much sweat's going to be built up in the rigs at the end of this race, though, Lewis?
Oh, goodness me. The things I don't want to think about. That is probably quite high on the list. They're going to be moist. They are going to be pretty...
That's the
worst word, is it?
It is the worst word to use in the entire dictionary.
It is, yeah. So you get me thinking about that, I'll start dropping that word. It's fine.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. The thing is, there's a point. This is why I'm surprised by so many drivers in VR around here. I still maintain, we've said this before, is that racing in VR it has its ups and downs. We all know, and around here, I do think like you will get more of an advantage in a sense, but because it's so much work driving around here in these cars, that's what you like. It's just so much heat. The idea of that being strapped onto your face. Ridiculous. If you weren't doing the MX 500, I'd be suggesting we've got to slap on the VR after this and go and take on TPC Sawgrass, though.
Well, we'd have to go play some golf, is what you're saying.
Oh, well, yeah, there's a scramble, isn't there?
Yep, Romanides past Costantini, and I wonder if Costantini's still struggling with that front wing damage. Well, let's see what he can do. 10th position now and not far away from the pit stop window opening. Although, count backwards from here, Lewis, right? He's on the 17th lap of the stint. We've talked about 22 being the longest. He has got to go to the end of this run because that means he'll avoid a splash and dash at the end of the race.
Yeah, exactly. This is the whole thing. You've got to... It's the whole thing of running your race backwards or whatever, like what you'd have in endurance racing. But in this sense, it's about just making sure that you're staying out to kind of tick off the requirement and making sure that you don't have to come back into the pit lane, despite the pain and drama. And I promise you, all that will be going through your head is, but I've got to pit. I've got to pit soon because I'm losing so much ground. I'm losing so much ground. You will lose way more ground by coming into the pit lane early and then have to come into the pit lane once again than just staying out, dealing with the pain now. I can promise you, though, this is not a fun stint at all for Costantini. Probably up there with one of the more frustrating in his sim racing career.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. And the pain, it's probably got someone in his ear just telling him, it's okay, we'll come down to pit lane. There's 2 races to go after this. So the long way to go in the championship in terms of laps to be run. And only street circuit of the season. So in some ways, that person that designed that schedule, past Arjuna, quite evil. Because Iowa and Belle Isle back-to-back, the 2 craziest races that I think we were expecting this season.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if I'd classify it as craziest race. I'd say like hardest track, sure. But I still maintain Auto Club. At the end of the year, at the end of the season, it's always a crazy race around there. It's always crazy. It's
like the normal crazy, right? It's just
right. Yeah.
When 3 wide is normal, that crazy gets, almost normalized, right? So like it's weird. And again, I just want to say, I know you weren't with us, unfortunately, Lewis, for Iowa, but 2 cautions, 250 laps. I mean, I think that's better than what they did in the real world.
Yeah, I've got to say that's actually like there comes a point at a racetrack like Iowa where you've been driving around for let's call it even 60, 70, 80 laps, and all you're sat there thinking is like, please can we have a caution? Please. Like there's a point where it's like, I need to breathe. You need to like calm down, and then there's just no caution. It just keeps going. That is where things can get very, very difficult. So I will say they did very well to survive that one. Let's see if there's going to be some surviving happening here from Ryan Barneveld going on the attack of Josh Thompson.
And these are drivers, right, who would have gone to Iowa with absolutely no experience of that sort of a race. So they would have been the ones most gasping for air, if you will, at the end of those long green flag runs. Barneveld nice and simply sweeps past Thompson. Right, again, I'm just wondering, that left front's also looking smashed in for Josh Thompson. So he's having to manage some pain in this middle stint of the race.
Yeah, you can see it's not looking comfortable for a few of these drivers, and like I said, the main thing is keeping it out of the barriers and potentially other people's cars. Diogo Pinto feeling the requirement to press the button now, because I will say Eduardo Leo's finally got that gap under a second for the race lead. Now, whilst they are teammates, are they going to fight or are they going to wimp out?
I think they have to fight, mainly because look at those championship standings. Eduardo Leo is in the mix. Pinto's not really there. So, remember, Diogo Pinto and Eduardo Leo both missed the second round of the season. Leo was racing karts. Pinto was part of the red line effort at the 24 Hours of Spa. So, there's no drop rounds. They effectively shed the points that they could have earned there. But Leo's still in the mix. That would be a 10-point difference that gets him even closer to Kraus and Costantini.
Yeah, you got to remember with Eduardo Leo, obviously, won the first round of the season, missed the second, did terribly at Iowa. I didn't see it, but didn't score much.
He struggled.
Is all I can see. Yeah. So right back up. How do you bounce back? Well, you become the first 2-time winner of the season.
And I tell you what as well, that's something I had not thought about for the preceding 46 laps, and now I cannot not focus on for the next 24, because Lewis, we had Leo, Costantini, Kraus. Pinto would be a very worthy name to add to the list of winners, right? 4 different winners in 4 races. What a storyline that would be. But like you say, for Leo to bounce back, that is something as well. And that first win came as an independent driver, right? He wasn't racing under the Redline label then. It was in the same stealth black carbon livery that he is still rocking today. So much has changed for him since that first round as well. Signed a contract to be racing race cars later this year in America, Radical SR1s. With Team Redline now, things are lining up for him as we head into what's going to be a very busy winter in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's of the teams to sign for, it's not a bad one, is it?
That's not bad, nah.
No. I've always said that. Yeah, look, there's a few teams in sim racing that if they ask, would you like to drive for us, you just don't say no. As Diogo Pinto bells into the pit lane, as does Eduardo Lea. So they're all getting ready for the final stint of the race. It's kind of same as like if Ferrari asks you in Formula One, do you want to come and drive our car? You don't typically go, nah, don't worry about it, mate. If Redline ask, yeah, you're signing that contract, mate.
I don't disagree with you there. Dom Duhan, if you're listening, where's my contract on my shirt, by the way? So Pinto up on the jacks.
I think he likes me more than he likes you, I'm not going to lie. And I've not been offered a contract.
Probably true. Pinto, 4/10 longer in the box, and so that brings Leo even closer. David Toth on the bottom goes longer. He takes over the net race lead, and behind them, it is Michele Costantini, yet to pit so far for the final time, feeling the pain of that broken front wing and seeing the battle for the race lead in front of his eyes.
But now he's seen that they've been into the pit lane and they're getting ready for the final stint. You've just got to box. You've just got to get this repaired. You know you're going to have a slower stop. You know you're going to have a bit of drama. Fair enough. You've got to get out now. Like this has to be done. I don't know. I'm actually surprised he went out for that one extra. Obviously, if they can do 24, but who knows? I'm not a race engineer nor a driver.
Maybe he thought
nor a commentator.
Apparently. Maybe he thought there was an advantage just sitting in the draft of these drivers for this additional lap, but yeah, I think I'm on your side. Would expect him to be in, and David Toth not coming around the final corner as some of the traffic is. There's a BS competition car that's got no rear wing whatsoever, showing the battle scars of war. Here we go, final time into pit lane, expecting Kraus and Ariel to maybe stay out. No, Ariel pits, Kraus goes long.
Yeah, so Kraus just going a little bit longer, again using the clean air, the low fuel, and the tyres that seem to be running quite well towards the end of the stint, to be fair, as he'll head straight back out onto stay rather out on the road. My goodness me, I can't get my words out. Obviously, we'll be in the pit lane realistically at the end of this lap. There's no need to go any longer, even if you can. So Kraus will be in.
And so, as we pick back up, handful more cars leaving the lane. Sam Koitert's in front of Peter Berryman. Berryman trying to get those tyres up to temperature, and maybe no surprise that everybody, and I mean everybody, Lewis, is going on to those Waiulis for these final 22 laps.
Yeah, that's how you really want to do it. You want to get your requirement of doing the primes out of the way early, i.e. on the first couple of stints. That's why I kind of like the idea of getting it out of the way on the first stint, especially if we're the caution coming out, then maybe you can jump on and do the rest of the race basically on the alternates. But track temperature has come down slightly as we were expecting. It's only by a single degree, so we're running slightly cooler than we were earlier on in the race. As here comes some moves.
So Blaise Andrich in 17th, trying to fend off Oscar Mangan and Josh Thompson. We've got an independent driver, or two independent drivers technically, with Mangan no longer representing Altus in that very purple machine. Mangan gets past. Now can Thompson follow as well for Blaise Andrich? I don't think he necessarily thought this was how his season was going to go, but he's made the majority of the races so far and very much shown himself up as a pretty decent contender in terms of speed. So Pinto leads from Leo, still 1 second between them, and then look all the way down at the gap between third and fourth position. Sam Koitert sits in front of Berryman, with Soria the one to watch, trying to claw his way back up forward into fourth.
Yeah, I got to say it's been a really solid drive for David Toth in third position as we head further back to Phil Kraus, fresh out of the pit lane. Here comes Gustavo Ariel to the outside. Will he go for the move down at turn 3? Certainly going to look, obviously, warmer tyres in Gustavo Ariel's hands.
But Kraus still, remember, on Waiulis, they fire off relatively quickly, and those track temperatures being relatively warm as well will help the tyre life as you get off and away. It's about the conditioning, making sure, though, that you've got the life over 21 laps with which to work. Now, Ariel burns a push to pass. Kraus covers it off. He's got 3 left to go after this one. Ariel's got 4. They'll know that potentially as well, as the Brazilian driver watches Kraus bobble over the curb, but no move to be made for the time being.
Yeah, I think once you've got out of this section, the tyres will be right where they need to go, and I think that's exactly what Gustavo Ariel's feeling as he tries to go on the attack. That's an insane send to the inside, covered off brilliantly by Phil Krause. And yeah, to be fair, very good driving from Gustavo Ariel there not to snatch a break. So easy to do, and that would have them both out.
I think that was one of the fights of the day. That was great racing between two drivers who know exactly how important that battle could have been, because now Krause probably going to set his target up to trying to claw his way up into the top 5. Not saying that's a guarantee. That will be the target, at least from what I can see. So Christian Hilgard becomes the one driver yet to make his way down pit lane. Off he goes to driver's right. Adam Blocker and Xavi Ross. They fight now for 13th position. Blocker has just finished his first lap out of pit lane.
Yeah, indeed so, and that first lap is not coming without its pressure as here comes Xavi Ross then. Obviously on the button goes Adam Blocker to defend, and we'll keep him at bay. Nice, but Xavi Ross is showing some good speed.
He is. You've got to say as well, right, that given that these drivers were embroiled in the mid-pack battles, to only be 40, I say only be 40 seconds off of your race leader, I think it goes to show, all things considered, they may have had the pace to do a little bit more, because, Lewis, the pace from Pinto and Leo, it's been quite consistent, it's been quite relentless.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've just been setting good lap after good lap. It's been ridiculous at the front of the field. Davidov feeling the need to use one of the push-to-passes that he's got. He's probably not fired through too many today, just purely based on the fact that he's not had anyone really to fight. I'd argue for Toff, it's been probably quite a boring drive this afternoon.
Yeah, you know, because it was Soria that was the one really in the fight in the first stint. He dropped back then in the first pit cycle with the change of the front wing. Davidov promoted to third. And then somewhat no man's land since then. That's another push-to-pass burn, though. He's trying to close. Lewis, I think this is the first broadcast that you've done with the new Drago Racing livery, isn't it?
It is indeed. It is. I quite like it.
It's not bad. Come on.
It's not, but I don't love it.
It doesn't have the same sense. You know the scales that they had on that?
Right.
That really evoked the monster? You don't have that here. I get that.
Yeah. It's like I'm looking at it being like, it's a nice livery. It is a bit generic.
Got to make sure you were close to the mic when you said that, huh?
I'm just saying it is what it is. I just want to say it very quietly, but I want to make sure that everyone can hear.
Okay.
It's just, I don't know. It feels like it's a nothing burger.
That's a word, a nothing burger. I tell you what is a burger. Unfortunately, Josh Thompson, a bowl of burger of disappointment. He's eating down on pit lane right now.
It's not a tasty one, that is.
No, it's not.
That is a Mackie special.
The concrete tire barrier combination does not taste very nice. I can confirm that one.
Goodness me. Yeah, that is. That ends what has been not a particularly great day for Josh. I mean, to be fair, he's had some good speed, but just hasn't been. When your teammates are running first and second, that's where you expect to be at least up in the top 5. When the car's that quick, when you've got things set up so nicely, but alas, for Josh Thompson, not great.
So, quick talk about points then, with 18 to go. Sam Coytert runs out wide. He's defending from Peter Berryman. That's really more talking about Berryman's chances of closing in on those in front of him. Pablo Espez has gone back out onto track. Remember, he was having some technical issues earlier. He's just taken the fastest lap, and with it, 2 bonus points as well. Christian Hilgard, Jose Soria, they'll fight for 8th position, but 12 points between Krause and Costantini as they sit right now.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, the gap in the championship slightly growing in Krause's favour, obviously after the pretty frustrating second stint from Costantini. But with the car all repaired, can he go on the attack? Will he get some assistance from his teammate, Michael Romanidis, ahead as well? You kind of say for the championship, realistically, Romanidis, if towards the end of the race, if he lifted off a little bit, maybe made it slightly less obvious than how Lando Norris did at the Hungarian Grand Prix, that might assist his teammate in the championship hunt.
You actually read my mind, because I was literally about to go there. Team orders, hot button topic in motorsports nowadays, right? Especially with what happened a couple of weeks ago at the Grand Prix. And maybe as well with what happened at Spa, with Lewis feeling a bit frustrated that he doesn't feel like he got the right end of the stick, but turns out that he did. He didn't get disqualified.
Yeah, he definitely did.
Yep. I can't complain about that one, Lewis, unfortunately. But Yeah, really the operative point being here, I guess, is opinion on team orders, Lewis. Does it have a place in motorsport, real or virtual?
I will say, when it comes to team orders, it's one of those things that I actually have a strong opinion that it shouldn't be policed, because it's impossible to police. Because if you say there's no we're not allowed to team orders in this, for example, in sim racing, right? How can you know that there's been no team orders? Because even if you go, oh well, Romanidis slowed down to allow Costa to, could just be mates doing a favour. You can't. The two like you can't do it. It's impossible to police. So don't bother policing it. Just let it happen. Whether it should happen, that's entirely up to the teams. I don't necessarily have a problem with it, except when it makes things dull as. Commentated on a race where one team had first, second, third and fourth, and then they told them all not to fight.
What?
How boring.
Was that in a real world race as well?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, fortunately. Okay, I was going to say that would have been really disappointing. I don't think there's team orders up front, though. Eduardo Leo's within 3 car lengths of Pinto as they cross the line. A gap around half a second, 15 laps to go. Take a look at the track map. I'm not saying there's much traffic in front of them, but there's a little bit, here and there. Cam Dance pulls out of the way. Ooh. What's Eduardo Leo thinking? What's he being told in his ear?
I don't know. I mean, like I say, if this is the thing, is that if there were team orders in this side, you've either got the whole side of things where think about the championship, which would be Diogo Pinto and Leo will go through, or it's Diogo Pinto's been leading all day, no need for Leo to take any risks, and at which point they don't fight. And I will say, typically speaking, it's one thing that I do quite like about Redline. We don't actually see that often in a scenario like this. We do see team orders from them, on occasions, but it's more like, don't be an idiot. In a scenario like this, we don't typically see that many team orders from them.
Agree. And I think you're right in that we shouldn't expect team orders either. I think we're also going to expect, by the way, Jose Soria has closed in this fight for fourth behind Koita and Berryman. He's been very, very fast today. I think he's one to watch inside of these closing stages. Now, that gap extends back up for your race lead, though. 3/10 slower for Leo as he gets more into that dirty air. But this is one of those tracks where, if you've got a good car over the bumps... Whoa, now who was that smashed into the wall behind?
Well, I think it's one of those ones a lap down.
Okay, it wasn't David Toth, fortunately.
No, David Toth's still driving around nice. He's got a little bit of lap traffic ahead of him. Got to say for Soria, obviously running in 6th spot at the moment, I get the feeling he will be disappointed for anything short of 4th, considering the race that he's had. Yeah,
I think I know what you mean there, but it goes back right to some of the luck maybe of the front wing. Kraus alongside of Michael Johnny. Oh, they're still wheel-to-wheel. They've gone wheel-to-wheel for a good 2-3 corners. And if Kraus holds it around the outside, he's got the inside onto the back straight. And
Lovely.
From starting down in 17th, points leader Phil Kraus up to 7th.
Brilliant drive, and that was really important for Michael Johnny to try and keep Phil Kraus at bay for his teammates' sake, of course. Costantini running down in 11th. It does seem as though Johnny's going to drop back down the order because Gustavo Ariel with a big send down the inside. That was beautiful.
Now, does Johnny have damage? Because he's going a lot slower than maybe we'd expect. And after what we saw with Costantini, my first inclination is always going to be, is there anything on that front wing? Cars are in the way, but
looks
no, that looks fine.
I think, to be fair, it might have just been a slow drive going out onto the back stretch down towards 7 that just might have caught that one up a little bit weak as Sam Koita in 4th position, Pete Berryman in 5th. How many push-to-passes do these two have?
Asking you shall receive. Left side of the screen, you see the push-to-pass numbers left to use in this race. Kraus has been quite aggressive. He's got just 1 left to play with. Peter Berryman's got an extra 1 over Koita and Soria around him.
Let's start burning them up then. Come on, PB. Let's see if we can get that move done. I mean, look, there's no way that Berryman's going to be able to close down to David Toth. He knows that his fight in this race is for 4th. In this race, as it is with Jose Soria and Sam Koita, and it will be the race between those to the checkered flag unless some drama happens. Which, to be fair, let's not put the drama completely out of the window, because obviously with the 13 laps left to go in the race, I've still got 2 extra cautions coming down this one.
Oh, don't say that. Oh, don't say that.
No, I'm just saying, scientifically speaking.
20 drivers still left on the lead lap of the 33 that saw the green. We have, I think it's 6 drivers technically still running 1 lap down or more. So Matt Taylor, Randall Haywood, Jesper Orman, Sam Carasala, Cam Dance, and Pablo Espez, the drivers circulating out there who are not fighting on this lead lap. Back out of turn 2, Jose Soria is really pushing up to the wall, but I think when you're saying, you know, burn those push-to-passes, Lewis, they're at a point of the race where A, they're trying to keep them in the back pocket for the final laps, B, they may also be saving a little bit of fuel given when they came into pit lane.
Yeah, no, I'm well versed with this. Use more power or get more power and then have to save more with it. You know, come from the world of Formula E and stuff. I'm well versed with that logic, and so there is a certain kind of like requirement to it. Depends on when they stop. Pete Berryman did come in a couple of laps, so he should have enough fuel. But then again, he might not have just taken all of. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be really weird if you were going a little bit longer on the second stint to pit a little bit
less
later, and then I understand like take less fuel because then you're stationary for less time. I do get that, but surely you'd be taking into account that you've got 5 push-to-passes to use. Surely you'd have that in the back of your head.
Yeah, and that's where as well, having an engineer who knows the different number, right, between a push-to-pass lap and a regular lap, that will help you as well, because you can really drill into how much fuel you want to throw into the car. Back out of turn 2. Berryman's still unable to start to take advantage of the push-to-pass usages. There'll be 10 to go next time by. And why is that important? Well, Lewis won because I don't know if it's a hope or a dream or just a wild gamble that we'll get 2 more cautions in the closing stages. We're running out of laps to have those 2 cautions.
Look, I only want it to happen because I want to be right. However, I would be happy for it not to happen because we're getting some good battling around here, and to be fair, I don't want that to come to a closing time soon. And of course, it speeds us up getting out of the booth, and I'm already sick of spending time with you.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you on that one. 11 to go, becoming 10 at the line for your leaders. We look, though, at Eduardo Leo, still within 8/10 of Pinto as we get into those final laps. I get the feeling Leo's not got enough of a car to really put the pressure on to his teammate up front. I get the sense that the most he can settle for today is second. I say settle for second, not a bad day all things considered, is it?
No, it's pretty handy for the second spot. Again, brings you a little bit closer to the championship contention, although realistically speaking, that victory will probably be required considering the last 2 rounds for Eduardo Leo. 1 no-show, 1 poor round for him. And like I say, on the right-hand side there, you can see 6th, 4th in the championship. 40, yeah, sure, getting 40 points for this one, but sitting, 8 points. Oh, my goodness me. No, I'm just leaving. I'm not doing maths. That was so easy.
I think I can even make it easier. There's an actual button that I can use to bring that up for you, Lewis.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was 48. It's fine.
Yeah.
I almost said 42 though for some reason. I'm not 100% sure. It is the answer to everything, isn't it?
Now, these are provisional points, let's not forget. So, you know, as much as 42 is the answer for everything, might not end up being the answer to the gap at the end of this race. If there is anything race control needs to investigate in the conclusion of the checkered flag flying, I think for the most part, though, has been relatively clean. So, in these final laps, we are watching the main fight right now. Outside of the top 10, there's no drivers within 1 second of one another. We have this fight for 4th, we have the fight for the lead, which, by the way, don't look if you're Team Redline. David Toth, only 2 seconds away now.
And to be fair, Toth has been burning his push-to-passes, trying to go for fastest laps, trying to close that gap back down again, doing a brilliant job in doing so. But is it too little too late for David Toth? I mean, looking at those gaps on the right-hand side, it is too little too late. I think that gap's going to close down comfortably, fair enough. It's going to probably put some pressure on Redline to make sure they're not making mistakes over the final portion. But in 9 laps, I don't necessarily see David Toth having enough to close right the way back in.
No, I think you're right there. But, you know, if you're Drago Racing, Team Redline have been searching for a little bit on the setup since the start of the season, and in fact from pre-qualifying as well. They clearly figured it out at Barber on Thursday. We didn't get to see their pace at Barber in the VCO IndyCar Challenge because, of course, they were racing in the 24 Hours of Spa. But clearly they have figured something out, and that's exactly what they want. Oh, don't tell me Jose Soria has lost the nose cone once again.
No, he's not.
I think he did for a second, though.
He did, yeah, he did. No, for the 4th time this race, he has done for a brief moment, and then it's popped back on again. This is some interesting strategy from Drago Racing, and again, it is literally the same thing. It is well, obviously in this case it's Pete Berryman. It's someone ahead of him having a mistake, and he's the one that pays the price, and somehow he dodges the bill. No one go on a date with Jose Soria because you're paying.
Berryman did lose the front left of the wing, so I'm suspecting that Soria's not going to have to fight too hard to make the move, and Berryman's going to have to settle for a 6th position at best. Soria now 3 seconds away from Coiter. Is there going to be a chance to close and to make the move? Also have seen something happen to Ryan Barneveld. What happened to the Zebra?
He's standing in the same corner that Pete Berryman had his issue. Pretty much the same thing. Yeesh, but a bit harder.
That's a big one as well.
Yeah, the problem is there. It's obviously it's pulled the car and spun it back round. Unlike what happened when we saw Pete Berryman hit the ball, and of course even to the point earlier we saw Josh Thompson hit. I know Josh Thompson hit it quite hard, but the pair of those were still able to keep going in the normal direction of the race circuit. Whereas obviously there for Barneveld, it's been spun round, which caps off what has been a very up and down day that started out with a drive-through.
And as they say, spin my head right round. On board with Leo, 7 to go.
Did they say that?
That's what I say, apparently.
Goodness me.
David Toth burns the last of his push to passes as well, so he's no longer, I think, really going to close up and pose a worry to Pinto and Leo, who do have...
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. That was Adam Crane and David Toth getting tangled up together.
Yeah, there's Adam Crane obviously trying to back out. I will say, Crane was kind of like lingering a little bit there as Toth was trying to get down the inside. Let's see how the contact actually happened. Because you can see Crane's just sort of sat there. Toth goes for the move. Crane just turns in. You're a lap down, mate.
To be fair, David Toth maybe does come in from a little bit deep.
A little bit deep.
Yeah, no, that's... Now, David Toth's still 4 seconds clear of Sam Coiter. Is there a chance that the gap for third starts to shrink in the closing stages? The car still looks okay.
Yeah, look, I do understand that was from a little bit too far back from David Toth, but think of it in the context. Adam Crane's not really fighting for that much in there. Sure, you've got your own fight. If he was very close to the rear end of Pascal Stix, like right on the rear end, I would say that was a little bit too far. But yeah, for David Toth to have said that one, the fact that Crane was kind of driving around by himself, you've got someone battling almost for a victory. Because you're within 2 or 3 seconds of the race lead. That's still a part of that fight. You're still keeping the pressure on. Just breathe the throttle. Just get out of the way.
And well, I guess race how you want to be raced as well, right? So
yeah.
That's the thing. When in a field as competitive as this, when you do end up going a lap down, it's one of those things where you're always fighting. You never want to give up too much time. And while David Toth, I think, very fortunately, is not going to end up giving up any positions as a result of that, Adam Crane did lose out, though, to Pascal Stix. Wonder what race control will say. Surely that's going to be something they'll take a look at post-race. 5 to go at the line, though. And it's between 2 red line drivers at the front. 1 second splits Pinto from Leo. And are we going to get 4 from 4 in terms of different race winners, or can Leo become the first driver to do 2 wins this season?
I think it's going to be Pinto. At this point, my gut feeling, with where the gap is, my gut feeling leans it to being Pinto, who's been so good today, to be perfectly honest. Been absolutely phenomenal driving at the front of the field. He's got 5 laps to hang on for what would be a pretty impressive victory here at Belle Isle. And as much as there might not be team orders, even if there are team orders, the fact that your teammate's right there, let's be honest, there's team orders until you make a mistake, at which point, yeah, like, obviously, if there is a mistake, Eduardo Leo's coming straight through. So, it's still about reducing risk. It's about minimising it. And I don't know about you. I just saw the line that Leo took there at turn 3. I don't think there's any holding back between these two.
No. And, if this is what the future holds, it reminds me of one of the last times that Redline had a world champion and the new driver came and challenged them. That was in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Deutschland, when Diogo Pinto joined and Max Benneker was the incumbent effectively at Redline. Now, Redline has evolved a lot since then, and for the best, right, Lewis, in many ways. They've gone from having a clear number 1 driver to having so many drivers of that same caliber and level. Oh, I'm very excited for what Eduardo Lea is going to do for the rest of this year, because let's not forget, it was him in that Cadillac in the IMSA Esports Global Championship at the end of last year, putting it up front towards the field in qualifying and really putting a name for himself in that Altus Esports entry.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's dream time for Team Redline in the world of sim racing. It has been for a little while. It has been for the last couple of years, but particularly obviously when they've picked up the Red Bull Racing stuff, and they're picking up drivers like Belle Isle. Like, it is dream time for Team Redline. They're in such a perfect position, and it's so, at least from what I've been told by some of the drivers in the Redline camp, it's so well managed in the sense of, like, there's a lot of drivers. You've got to say there's a lot of egos in that team, and yet no one's primed to burst, which is obviously what has happened before with certain drivers that may have been mentioned in the previous sentence that you had. Here comes Phil Krause, though, making a move on Pete Berryman.
That lack of front wing really cost Berryman. Slipped something inside as the private label team hype with Powerslide Motorsports entry, but Berryman fights more than he would have at the start of the race, that's for sure. He's just not got the grip, not got the aerodynamic performance to hold on. And Phil Krause, what a drive from 17th to 6th, a drive of a champion contender.
Yeah, exactly, and a comfortable championship leader, but it's not done yet. On the button comes Pete Berryman. He's trying to drag his way back into it. Gustavo Ariel's not too far arrears of this fight, so we'll be joining it, and I'm pretty sure we'll have a go at Pete Berryman before the end of the race as Phil Krause is able to hang on. I'm pretty sure Jose Soria, by the way, pressed the button and it instantly disconnected.
Ooh, he might have lifted off just a little bit more, maybe a technical issue on his throttle. Suboptimal.
Not great. That's, if that is the case, complete waste of a button. Press, but Diogo Pinto's using a little bit at the front of the field and starts to close in on three. Well, he's on 3 to go now, closing on the penultimate lap of the race as he continues to run at the front of the field.
And that margin over Eduardo Leo holding steady. Leo has not started to dip into the push to passes. Remember, they came in on the same lap, so they should be pretty equal in terms of fuel and what their goal and target needs to be, as long as they've not been too heavy-handed with the right foot over the course of this final stint of the race. Jose Soria, though, what can he do? He's had to change 2 front wings. Yes, I've said that. 2 front wing changes, and still within 16 seconds of the leader, 1 second back from Coiter.
Kind of one of those ones where it's like, it's been a very, very impressive drive from Jose Soria, especially because I will say the front wings that were lost, I would lean it to being quite a lot of it wasn't really his fault. Wrong place, wrong time, again and again and again. Driver ahead makes a mistake and he doesn't really have anywhere to go, and that's what damages the front wing. I think he's done an incredible job to take home what looks at the moment like a pretty solid top 5 without losing too much. That's not the commentator's curse. That's not the commentator's curse.
Oh, wow. Jose Soria. He's going to try and stay on track, isn't he? Now, this might cause an issue because 2 laps to go. Whoa, that's dangerous. This is not
that's
on.
So dangerous.
And this might end up in him getting disqualified. Phil Krause goes around the outside. Jose Soria, this is not right.
Nah, this is not okay. That was playing with fire with Phil Krause going around the outside as Jose Soria tries to remain out on the racetrack. Just a huge mistake going into the penultimate turn, and Pete Berryman says, okay, that's enough drama for me, thanks. Gustavo Ariel comes through. There is Soria off in the background. Yeesh.
And, well, I wonder if race control might just give him permission to tow from there, and we'll keep it green, given that we're on to this final lap. Or maybe he just sits there. Either way, it goes to show why Belle Isle is on the calendar, why street circuits are part of the NTT IndyCar Series and here in the VCO IndyCar Challenge as well. 1 more lap to go up front, and the caution will indeed fly. Diogo Pinto, 4 different winners in 4 races to open up the season.
Yeah, if there was going to be any team orders to potentially switch it round for whatever reason between Redline, they're not going to be afforded the opportunity. Diogo Pinto will take the victory here at Belle Isle after a fantastic performance. Brilliant stuff. But there we go. Caution comes out right at the end, all because of Jose Soria's moment there.
And if we thought that we were going to get some racers finishing under the safety car, it would have been likely that you'd have put your money down on Iowa and Auto Club. Maybe Belle Isle the next most likely. Redline will finish on top. Drago Racing maybe not going to see the total points performance that they would have felt like the speed that they had warranted. Kawan to get all 3 of their drivers into the top 10. Phil Krause, though, points leader, does what he needs to and slides his way in front of some of the Redline, the Apex, and Kawanda machines to make his presence known in the top 10. And Lewis, your first race of the season. We're back next week from Road America. What do you think we're going to be looking forward to as we get ready to go for the penultimate round of the championship?
Well, hopefully more overtaken. It is quite a wide open race circuit. Hopefully a lot of fun as well when it comes to the driving. I mean, look, it's a great circuit to go racing around. It's one that leads open. I can guarantee, ladies and gentlemen, there will be one thing that will absolutely happen at Road America.
What?
We're going to complain about corner numbers.
Oh, okay.
Guaranteed. Also, I can't wait for the message from Dane Baird about the commentator's curse. Now, I can feel it. I can feel it being sent.
I can feel it being typed as well, that is for sure. Well,
I'm glad I don't have access to Discord now.
yeah, Lewis has managed to get himself locked out of Discord. What a genius he is. Wow, I'm a little bit speechless in that, you know, Jose Soria, I was just singing his praises. What a charge it had been, even with 2 front wing changes. Well, the crash damage, it's good the repair bill is virtual for this race, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we've not seen a replay of it. I don't fully know what happened. I think he hit the curb on the right-hand side into what is really like the proper penultimate corner, which they're coming down into now. It was a costly mistake, straight into the barrier hard, and then played a very risky game, but let's be honest, this lot were all well clear of it.
That's exactly what they were hoping for, wasn't it? Given how the season has played out, 3 races still left to go, and Redline finally maybe clicking in the Solara IR18. What a week it is for Diogo Pinto. First on Thursday, winning in the IndyCar butt kicker iRacing qualifying series, but now here on the streets of Belle Isle, basically a flag-to-flag victory with no major stress. It's Redline 1 and 2, it's Pinto on top, and in the 4th round of the season, it's a 4th different winner, and the championship set up on a fine wire. A smile from Pinto shows exactly how stressful this race was in many ways. Even though he was up front, he was pushing for 70 laps.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not easy to go around street circuit racing and dominate like that without making any major mistakes. It is a lot of fun, though, when it goes right. Navigating those barriers as close to the walls as he was getting, especially when you're under pressure all the way through it. Dealt with it brilliantly. And Diogo Pinto, like you say, makes it 4 from 4 when it comes to different race winners. Can we make it 6 from 6 by the time we get to our season finale? Here's the replay.
That would be quite remarkable, wouldn't it have been?
Oh, it just locks up.
Wow.
Did he even lock up, or was he just too quick into the corner?
Let's watch the hands here. Way too quick into the
Way
corner.
Too fast. I was watching the boards on the top left, the brake marker boards. He was about. He was late. Let's go with that. Way too fast into the corner. You cannot call that a commentator's curse.
No, I agree with you. That's driver issue. Very confusing, by the way, because the pace car is still out there leading the field around, but confirmation, this race is now done and dusted in the books. 70 laps, maybe not as fast as we were thinking after the only one caution in the early stages, a caution at the end, interrupts the rhythm. We're looking forward to a chat with our podium sitters, Diogo Pinto, Eduardo Leo, and David Toth. At the end of the day, the margin between them maybe not reflecting the speed they all had as well. But what a performance from Redline, and Pinto qualified on pole and led for the majority of the race as well. Sam Coiter in 4th, Phil Kraus then in 5th for the championship leader coming into this race, leaving with his lead intact after starting down in 17th. Gustavo Ariel, Peter Berryman, Michael Gianni, Michael Romanidis, and Michele Costantini. The rest of the top 10 with all 3 Coanda entries just about holding on. Marcos Nunez and then Adam Blocker 11th and 12th, just in front of Oscar Mangan, another one of the drivers that really did struggle, had a couple of front wing changes of his own with Javi Ross. Christian Hilgard, the final driver, scored on the lead lap. 1 lap down for Blaise Andrich, for Pascal Stix, Adam Crane, Randall Hayward, and for Matt Taylor. While we then start to get down to those that struggled a bit more. 2 laps down for Jose Soria after crashing to bring out the final caution of the day, with Cam Dance, Sam Carasala, and then Ryan Barneveld beginning to get into the graveyard. Jesper Orman, Josh Thompson, Pablo Espez, Brandon Roseborough, Jeff Drake, Kevin Burrell, and then Danny Lorenzo, Josh Chin, and Alexander Van der Sant. The 33 that made it into the race itself from qualifying, unfortunately, not all of them able to see the end. Well, that was a read-through of the provisional race results, and we've still got some of those drivers ready to celebrate and head their way down onto pit lane. And so, Lewis, I think some well-earned donuts potentially coming from Diogo. Never mind, he's down on pit lane.
Yeah. Was it well-earned donuts, was it?
That's what I was about to say, yes.
Oh, mate, I've got a well-earned donut downstairs ready for me. That's not true. I'm going to go get some now. Now that you talked about it, you just got food in my mind. But no donuts, no celebrations, just straight to the next couple of burnouts and crash with your teammate. That's the celebration I want to see.
While we wait for them to come and have a chat with us here in the broadcast booth, we'll look forward because I can't wait now for next week, the trip to America's National Park of Speed, the final road course round before we go over to Auto Club. And Lewis, again, we'll have the qualifying format, right, with 3 different groups, drivers trying to make their way into the field. 1/1000th separated one driver from the field of 33 for this round. It's the final chance on the road courses for some to really make their mark in 7 days' time.
Yeah, and the thing is qualifying round is going to be really, really tricky because you're probably only going to get 1 or 2 attempts. Like, you're really not going to get, like, it's such a long lap. You're really not going to get many attempts to set a decent lap time. So making the most of everything is going to be absolutely critical, especially when, sure, the 1Xs, the track limit excursions, it's not too bad round here, but there are a few places where you can invalidate your lap time, even if you're on a good one where you're kind of really pushing it to its absolute limit. You know, even the run out of the carousel, run out of Canada Corner, you can dip 2 wheels on the exit. It's tough.
And Phil Krause may not appreciate me bringing it up, but you remember what happened in the ISOWC back in 2021. Not only the landmine, but Phil Krause running decently up inside of the top 10 in the closing stages, had his slip up through the opening corner. Alexander Walton was directly behind.
Oh, I do remember that, actually.
And, well, do you remember the chaos that happened after the race? Because that was maybe more fun.
I don't remember that.
Oh, that was interesting. I'm sure the Discord messages are saved somewhere for posterity. Just waiting, as mentioned, for our podium sitters to come and join us for a quick chat. Do we love Detroit? I certainly enjoyed today's race.
Look, this is one of those things. With this circuit, you brought it up earlier. Obviously, we don't race here in real life anymore. And the beautiful thing is that we have it laser scanned and in sim racing forever, so that we can always come back and race it. And it shows why it's such a good track to come back to take to the streets here at Belle Isle, and to see such an impressive drive from Diogo Pinto. It's always a joy to come to a circuit like this, and I think we've had a lot of fun.
I wonder if it's going to be a joy for Diogo to stand by with Lewis McLeod, fresh from victory lane, 4 different winners in 4 different races.
Diogo Pinto, here we go. Wow, what a victory that was. Let's be honest, it probably ended a little bit of an anti-climax there under the caution, but a really impressive drive. Kept your teammate at bay. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was a great race, first of all. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, certainly can.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it was a really fun race. This is a very tricky track, like most American tracks. So, yeah, I had my life easy starting from pole. Was just driving as slow as possible while maintaining the gaps behind, working with my teammate Eduardo, and yeah, it was good. The strategy was good. We had Andre, our engineer, keeping his eyes on us. So yeah, it was very fun. I love driving this car, and even better to win.
Now, obviously, you had your teammate directly behind you, who is in contention for the championship as well. It's slightly outside shot. Is there any? Was there any communication between the pair of you that you weren't going to fight, or was fighting always on the table?
Well, we figured out in practice that any cars that have equal pace, it's very hard to fight anyway. So we just stayed where we were. That's usually what we do in the team, just to avoid any necessary issues. And yeah, that's a professional way to do it. I think we're very equal pace anyway. So I think the biggest trouble was to cover David at the end and figure out the back markers, which were quite tricky because of the dirty air. Is very, very hard around here. Every time you get a little bit of dirty air with the bumps, it's quite tough. So just figure that out, take it easy, and yeah, 1-2 is already very good.
And of course, you've got a vast experience in sim racing in lots of different cars. How does the IndyCar here compare? You say you like driving this thing, especially around the circuit list where it's so dynamic and so tricky. How do you find it? Does this rank quite highly for you?
Yeah, this is at the moment my favorite car in iRacing, 100%. This is a very tricky track. I know it quite well, but it's very tricky. So, like I said, I like to drive as slow as possible while winning the race, and that's what I did here today. And even driving quite conservatively, we had a nice gap for the cars behind, so that's promising for future rounds. We're looking quite strong compared to a couple of months ago where we were very, very weak and lacking a lot of pace. So it's looking good.
Well, Diogo, thank you so much for joining us. Maybe we'll see this kind of pace from you at at Road America as well?
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll try my best.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. Cheers, Diogo. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
And so from Diogo Pinto, let's see if we can have a chat with Eduardo Leo, second on the board. And Eduardo, great to see you back on the podium after, I think it was, let's be fair, a bit of a difficult day at Iowa, technical issues as well. How are you feeling right now? Good result for you in your new red line team colors. Oh, we don't have him. He's clicked a button and now we don't even hear him. So, while Eduardo Leo tries to figure that all out, let's bring in David Toth standing by with Lewis McLeod.
Yes, indeed. I will take over. Don't worry, Arjuna. Hello, David Toth. Great drive. P3 at the end of the race there in what looked, until one specific incident with Adam Crane, which we'll come back to in a second, looked like kind of a boring drive for you. You had a bit of a gap to the two ahead of you, big gap to the group behind. How'd you keep focused in that?
Hey guys, yeah, it was a long and tough race. You know, in the beginning I was struggling a lot. I couldn't match the pace in the top 3, and Jose got quite unlucky, so I could manage to have the P3. And from that point on, it was a boring race. You know, I was trying to not kill the tires, watch out for the traffic, and you know, I'm quite satisfied with the position I am.
Now, speaking of traffic, we will now return to the incident between yourself and Adam Crane, obviously very late on. What did you make of that incident yourself? Obviously, you were trying to lap Adam Crane coming down to turn 3, kind of turned in. He was going for the apex a little bit whilst you were there. What did you make of it from your point of view?
Well, I saw that he easily let the front 2 guys go, so I was like, okay, he might not screw my race and he will let me go, but he decided to not do it, you know. And I think maybe the red line cars were suffering a bit with the fuel because they pitted 1 lap earlier, so I was quite motivated that I might can catch them. But yeah, it was an unfortunate situation, and to be honest, I don't know why it happened, because he was racing for no one. He was lapped down. I don't know why he had to do it.
Well, obviously, you know, we're seeing you up here on the podium, which is obviously great and stuff. You're kind of there or thereabouts up there in the championship, you know, fighting really for third and such. What can we expect to see you from Road America? Because of course we've had 4 different winners in 4 races. Do you think you're going to be the one to make it 5 from 5?
I wish. I think that's gonna be my last chance to win, because I'm suffering a bit on oval and I had to learn the car there. So yeah, the goal is definitely to be at the front at Road America, and I can't wait for that race.
Well, David, thank you so much. Again, great drive. It might have been a bit boring for you, but still we had our fair share of excitement watching it.
Thank you, guys.
Well, I think we're still waiting to see if we can have a chat with Eduardo Leo. Edo, do you have a copy? I think the deathly science...
He's hit the do not disturb button.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've been trying to help him while you were chatting to David. I was hoping that we were going to try and get Eduardo Leo to click the right button to figure it all out.
Okay, I'm good.
Oh, there
Boom.
he goes. Finally got it all figured out. Edo, great to see you back on the podium after winning the opening round of the championship. How are you feeling? First good result for you in your new Team Red Line colours.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess interview issues might be a good sign. Every time I have a good results, I have something. Yeah, the race has been amazing. It's a very stressful track, I have to say. I wasn't really comfortable. We didn't have a lot of practicing, obviously, priority being somewhere else. But the race was actually, we were quite fast. And yeah, I've been working really well with the guys lately. So we've put in a great work, and now it's showing off. I think I can say I'm really happy.
Let's talk about rest of the season now as well, because Diogo was saying that between you and him, there wasn't much difference in speed. It was going to be really difficult to pass, so second, the best that you could really have hoped for in those closing stages. But all it takes is for one bad result for Phil Kraus or for Michele Costantini, and you're back in the championship fight. How important is it for you to do well at Road America going into Auto Club, which is the final round of the season?
Well, yeah, of course, it's going to be very important. Obviously, you can never know what the opponents will do. Obviously, I'm trying to maximize the results. Second, as you said, was the best today I could do. Really, it's too difficult to close up, and anyways, it would have been too risky anyways in a street circuit like this. So I just take the points and be safe, I guess. Fighting for the championship right now is a bit unrealistic unless something happens, but we will see. I'll do my best and just do race by race and gain points and see what it.
And, well, one final question before we let you go. Plenty of new tracks, I think, for you to enjoy in this VCO IndyCar Challenge. How did you enjoy Iowa last time out? Was that your first ever short oval race in an IndyCar?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was pretty chaotic, I have to say. I think I like it much more than a speedway, a super speedway, because at least you have some sort of, things to do. You need to lift, you need to find your right spot on the track, so it's kind of fun. Obviously, it's very chaotic with a lot of cars on the track, but I think it was fun until I had my PC crash. So, but that was, it happens. I wasted another round, so now I'm a bit back in the championship, but I'm trying to do the best I can and see if Auto Club will be better luck for me.
Love the attitude. And Eduardo, we'll see you in a week's time when we head to Road America.
See you.
So, wraps up our post-race coverage, a chat with each of the podium sitters, and yeah, Road America next time out. Can't wait for it. And Lewis, let's take a quick look at the provisional championship standings. Now remember, could still be some things for race control to take a look at. Wonder what's going to happen with David Toth, for example. But as it stands, Phil Kraus, Michele Costantini still clear of the rest of the field, but Kraus taking a very, very important step here today.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kraus has taken advantage of the scenario, despite having a couple of issues in qualifying and making it look like he had a lot of work to do. He did the work, put himself up in a high position, and of course, I think for him it's about getting through the next round of the championship at Road America in a solid result. We know he's good on the road course anyway. But he's very good on the ovals, and that's the thing. I think he'll be in a really strong position heading into Auto Club.
I think I agree with you there. Remember, Diogo Pinto, this win today's only seen him jump to 11th, with the top 10 in the championship getting the prize money. That's what he's looking forward to focusing on. Time for us, though, to turn our attention to the American National Park of Speed when we return here with the VCO IndyCar Challenge, powered by Open Wheels. 5th round, making our way to Road America. We'll be here live on VCO Esports, on RaceSpotTV, and so for our team behind the scenes, Lewis McLeod alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thanks so much for your company. Belle Isle, well, it really put on a treat, and the streets of the Motor City, well, Diogo Pinto becomes our 4th different winner in 4 different races. What happens at Road America? Can't wait to find out. See you there.